I hit X latency, and I tried for a long time to see if X minus 1 was possible. And I'm pretty certain it's not.
We'll have to see.
But
Based on just what you said, I'm sorry, but
it makes me wonder because, like, I tried different like recipes for reducing the latency by 1, and every single one of them ran into some hiccup, which makes me think that
this was a really well-designed, tight latency puzzle.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
hi everyone that's joining in right now. I'm gonna be downloading the last solutions.
If you say first place latency stands alone, my jaw will drop, but...
No, it doesn't.
I know that I have something that's pretty hard to find.
It doesn't stand alone.
That seems right, yeah.
But anyways, let me actually load in the solve. So we'll be starting with rate first. How tightly did I calculate latency? Not much at all.
Wow, you just stumbled into the most interesting latency puzzle I have ever seen.
Mayhaps.
Congrats. You're an actress.
No, but like with latency, I did try to make like a triplex or more as like comparatively close as possible. Like I know triplex takes at minimum 6 cycles, and Moore's is like takes some cycles, so I just did some basic calculations, and I think I got around between 10 and 12. Like I didn't go into detail. My estimate was between 10 and 12 for min latency.
Yeah, there's a proof. I'll post it eventually, but I probably shouldn't post it at the beginning of the rate solves. There's a proof of like how difficult min latency actually is based on the requirements, and you can go into a very significant list of requirements.
Yeah. Alrighty. Let me actually figure out which one of these solves is actually a throughput solve and not a latency solve. But yeah, I guess I'll just start looking at all of them. I'll be starting in 36th place with Glass Lady with a 16R solve.
With how much R? 16?
16R. Oh, right, whoops, I forgot to introduce the puzzle, but like that's gonna appear on the screen for now. But yeah, this puzzle is Fulmination. It used to be called Fulminating Gold, but like Zorfax had a puzzle with that exact name, so I decided to change the name of the puzzle. And yeah, so the goal of this puzzle is to build this pretty complicated output compared to everything we've seen before, with a difficult to work with input. So, well, difficult to work with inputs. The metrics were basically taking cycles apart into throughput and latency. And like I said before, I tried to make latency between the Moors and the salt and the fires as close as possible. And also for rate, I calculate. So there was a version of this puzzle where rate actually between the salt likes and the metals were actually identical, so that none of them were limiting each other, which is possible by replacing the middle of the iron with tin. That makes both of the min rates for salt likes and metals to 3 outputs every 16 cycles, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the salt likes are very clearly 3 outputs per 16, but the metals, there is a combination of metal and quicksilver that does 3 and 16, but this is not it.
Yeah. So you can just throw away metal and still be at full throughput. So that was intentional on my part because I wanted to see like if anybody was going to do any clever pure projection rather than just straight up optimal.
Intentionally not being optimal on pure projection.
Yes. And it also worked out well for latency, so I'm glad I did it. But yeah, that should be this puzzle introduced, and we'll be starting with our first solve at 16 art by Glass Lady.
So to explain what R means, it is the mean number of cycles between making an output and the infinite limit.
I think this might be a latency solve. It looks like a latency solve. I can't really tell.
It looks like a solve.
Yeah,
It's difficult to say whether this was intentionally optimized for one thing or another, because it has regrabs, it has resets, but it eventually makes each output.
Uh-huh.
And it loops, which is required for rate, so everything that loops can be a rate solve.
Wait, I see a release command like just sitting there. And also,
I wonder if she knows that you can use OMX to do that instead.
Right, yeah, that's
is...
probably what the one little instruction means, but yeah, you can use the X command here, which doesn't cost instructions, actually.
Yeah, the game counts the drop as an instruction, but it does not count the X as an instruction. Officially, when you're looking at things like the production alchemy where the instructions are counted on screen.
Yeah, basically, so the X instruction is probably the most hard to understand out of all the instructions, but basically what it does is that you can pad out your... Whoops. You can pad out your instructions loop length with the X command without increasing the instructions count. It's really useful for instruction metrics in general, but yeah.
But instructions is only tertiary here.
Yeah. And this is probably the only solve in its primary, so... yeah. Also, that makes it so that everybody has submitted a throughput solve that submits... This is our... This is just... yeah. Everybody who submitted has made a throughput solve. Technically.
Something that loops.
Uh-huh. Alright, next up, we have in 35th place at 14R, Frogfather. I should probably explain what, like, throughput actually is. But...
yeah, I tried to give it like a one-liner, but... if your product is made once per tape loop, it's just the length of your tape loop.
yeah. It's basically the amount of, for rate. Rate is the amount of cycles per product on average if you're, like, ad infinitum.
Yeah, it's cycles, but without caring how long it takes for the startup. So if your first output doesn't come until cycle 30, but then you make it every 10 afterwards, your rate is 10.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more formality about that when you take into account stuff like, well, my outputs are in batches of 20 outputs, but they come at this rate, so there's a formal way to define it. But the short term is, like, just think about how long it takes to make the output after the one you made.
Also, so this one is projection only, I guess for convenience.
Yeah, so was the previous one. It
Yeah.
makes it so that you don't have to...
you don't have to take both fires off of the input.
yeah, you can just make it a bunch of salts, one is duplicated, and then, yeah, no metal waste, no fire waste. It's a lot easier to think about.
Makes it really convenient.
I see a lot of people already building the fire and triplex and gold half, and then bonding it to the wars and salt half on the same 3 parallel bonders.
it's convenient to separate things into different pipelines, but like the way I designed this puzzle is that you need 5 more and 3 fire, except you get more fire than salt. So you need to do a little balancing.
Everything's got to talk to everything else to come out at optimal rate.
Alright, next up we have in 34th place at 10 rate, Catspin.
Hey, we're pulling 2 of the fire inputs. Oh, but we're making one of them into waste.
Yeah.
That means that you don't have to use duplication, which is pretty nice. Because you use 4 of the salt input instead of 5. No, wait, you're using 5 of the salt input.
Yeah.
Right, because there's the salt in the output as well as 2 more. So 10 rate is if you never calcify or duplicate. That is your limit.
So Catspin just made it into a rate solve. Because while minimum rate is easy to calculate with it only being salt limited, it's a very daunting task. Since if you're not familiar with latencies, if you're not familiar with throughput solving, it's gonna start to be real complicated, and you'll end up with a huge solution, which will be seen quite a bit
Yeah,
of.
as soon as we get down to the 5.333R, I'm imagining we'll start off with some monsters.
Also, yeah, since Catspin mentioned this looked like this was part of a latency solve, it does look like a latency solve, except made faster.
Trying to rush that first output out.
Yeah. And next up, we have in 33rd place at 6.4 rate, our first non-integer rate, 42 Genius 42.
Interesting.
32 cycles per 5 products. Let me rotate that.
Okay.
It looks to be using only projection glyphs. I see no purification. Oh, but it's not able to take the fire at max throughput because it's using a single length arm to move back to the output. Or to the input.
Where? Oh.
Arm 1, I believe. No, not arm 1. I can't read on the screen. It might be 3.
It
But
pivots
it
over.
blocks the input for a cycle, so it can't.
Yeah, there's input suppression, which means you can't pull the the iron hematite input, as I called it in the puzzle description. You can't pull that fast enough. And that needs to be pulled at max input speed in order for this to actually be full throughput.
Yeah. If you're limited by salt, then you can't afford not to pull every salt. Interesting also to count like the animismus process, how often that has to run to keep up.
Oh
You
yeah.
can see that animismus glyph on the top right is running every 4 cycles. Which if you always ran animismus every 4 cycles, but you only had one of them, your throughput would be 8. So I wonder if he's writing in here, throughput under 8, meaning he found out how to make a second pipeline that uses another animismus glyph to get out of that trap.
Yeah.
I was just about to point out, nice, not odd one out, kind of though, odd one out pipeline.
Close enough to odd one out, like just to the left side. Yeah, we can call that odd one out. It happens often enough.
It looks like also it started out as an every 8 solution using the top right pipeline, and there's one more going out for 32 from the left.
Kinda regret playing always muted. I don't know, the triplex gets pretty... Triplex is probably the loudest glyph.
Output is the loudest glyph, I think.
Alright, output is loud as well, but like triplex can get pretty annoying. It looks like somebody made music with the triplex.
I tried to turn my in-game audio up and it was still muted, and I wondered why. And then I went into my volume mixer and realized I have been setting Opus Magnum process volume to 0 regardless of what I do in game. I don't want to hear it.
uh, and, right, next up, in 32nd place, we approach min rate at 3,205 gold. That's what we're starting at.
That's our starting cost. That's amazing.
Okay, and I'll take this for 2.5 hours on the final day. Yeah, so this is a good illustration of what you need for max throughput.
What you need? What are you
Well,
saying?
not what you need, but like the requirements of. Wait a minute, we've got version issues.
Did you press an instruction key on the solution before running it?
No, this is version. This is the difference between the new Opus Magnum version and the modded version.
Oh, that's a That's a
Oh.
rotation that
Ooh.
fails only in the beta.
Yep,
Oh.
I've had one of those in week 4. Like, since this is also a last minute solve, so I haven't actually checked this. But yeah, let me. That means I'll have to load it up in the other Opus Magnum. One moment.
Let me just go to my other Opus Magnum.
Yeah. Alright,
Congratulations to BritBoy for being the first person to submit a solve that breaks in the modded version of the game. Excellent work.
Alright, date modified, fulmination, copy that one out. Drag this one in. And that also means we can't zoom out. Sad.
Oh right, yeah. Zoom
No.
is contingent on using mod.
Oh.
So remember that picture you saw just a moment ago.
I
That's the
wonder
whole thing.
if it's possible to, like, fix that.
Yeah, what is the
Like, just tinker with
movement
it.
I don't want to tinker with a monster. That sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah, let's just do it zoomed in. Anyways,
But see, now that we're at mid-rate, I'm just going to be terrified of huge drops in cost. Like, even though we're at 3205,
oh shit, wait
the
a
next
moment.
thing you say could be 31st place, Biggie's cost.
I forgot that. I shouldn't have my other puzzles in here. Since that's week 9 spoilers.
Ooh.
Where is it?
Just spoiling that there's going to be a week 9.
There's a
Gasp.
schedule. Alright, I'm just gonna remove everything here. And put this thing in. Let me just download it from the site because apparently I don't have it. Steam be whack. Sorry for everyone, like, on stream, watching a black
We
screen
can just
right now.
edit this out in post.
I don't have anything that could actually edit the... Ah, god damn it. Why is everything loading in again? God damn it, Steam.
Steam was unable to sync your files with the Steam Cloud. Play game anyway?
Oh. Okay, I have everything in a folder, so it's fine. Just gonna delete everything. There we go. Okay, that's not the solve. What am I doing?
What are you doing?
No idea. Alright, I'll download it from here. There we go.
Watch it crash here too.
No, it doesn't crash. Anyway. So,
Amazing.
Morse comes out from here. It takes a bit of, like 2 inputs out of the however many it pulls over there to the bottom. And then you sends the rest to the top. This reminds me of like when we tried to view the throughput solves last year for Rivari's Rage.
Yeah, the bricks and the transport.
Uh,
It is cool that it is building it systematically.
yeah,
It's getting
also
a
it's
very
fine
clear
with
look
way.
of three outputs. I also like that it's breaking triplex bonds that we're connecting the outputs.
Why does
Partial
the
triplex.
why does the I guess Spreadboy never updated equilibrium and it used to be in that orientation.
I like ARM 53 on the right there.
ARM 53. Uh-huh.
Grabbing the batches of 3, feeding them in.
Yeah. This is a very systematic solve. It knows what it needs and it like goes through it factory production style.
I like this a lot. I know that it's like monstrous and it doesn't fit on a screen and apparently can't run in the version that lets you zoom out, but I still like this a lot and I'm glad you saved it.
Yeah. Luna, when we get the new version modded.
I mean, when you change how the game executable is laid out just because you recompiled it, that's just screwy.
Yeah. And it's, it doesn't help that the update is a collision update and it actually changes gameplay. But yeah, that's this solve. Glad we can get that hassle out of the way. But yeah, it's a great solve, great boy. In achievement rate, you get the 5 points.
I like Madmaster in chat. Build rafts out of equilibrium glyphs to hold atoms if they aren't being moved for a while.
What's this solve? Low throughput. Is that the next solve? Yep, that's the next solve by RPO.
Cut the cost almost in half.
Let me refresh that. Since I deleted it. There we go. Hopefully this one doesn't crash. Doesn't collide. Okay, yeah, this is the usual mess of a throughput solve I'm used to seeing.
I am trying to figure out.
Same, those
It
look
has
like
an
pretty
every
even
six
pipelines.
pipeline. Is this doing 1/6 plus 1/48? I think it is. Because yeah, you can see on the right, an output's made every 6 cycles. But then the left is still busy. And very expensive.
I believe this was a last-minute throughput solve as well.
Yeah, I remember him saying stuff like, "I'm working on throughput, and then I'm gonna peace out."
Uh-huh.
And every 6 is not like every 6 on the right is pretty well laid out, but I think the left half was just, and I have pieces coming in every 6. Let's make something out of it.
Yeah. Also, I like the VTake going to the disposal. Goes through that track.
True, yeah. The whole problem with this puzzle is so many things need to go to places that are on the other side of other stations.
Yeah.
It's like that famous wire power to 3 different houses from 3 different sources planar graph problem.
You just been like trying to recommend that video to me, and I haven't watched it yet.
Who did what?
YouTube's trying to recommend that video to me.
Oh, the planar graph problems.
Yeah.
There's so many math YouTubers that end up on my feed that I don't even know which one is which.
I like the, there's a tri-arm in the middle that grabs iron and does a little dance.
Oh yeah.
Before it gets disposed of.
I wonder what's that?
But also it could be a one arm. Oh no.
Let's see if that's true. Yeah. Yeah, Alfio got this solve done, submitted it, and didn't bother with any cost saves. Does that matter? Does 1720 matter? What does, oh yeah, it does. Whoa.
Oh no.
Alfio isn't scoring anyways.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But yeah, so speaking of it actually mattering, we have Cuckoo52 at 1715 gold in 31st place. Oh, we're back to...
I knew that my 10 gold that I saved at the end mattered.
Maybe it does. Okay, so this is another one of those solves that just takes what it needs and just sorts through.
Cuckoo is a genius at this sort of programming. This is a beautiful solve.
Cuckoo52 is the new Steven.
I've got to say that this is some of the most satisfying walls of color in a solution I have ever seen.
Also, I wonder how Steven's doing. I haven't heard from him in a while. But yeah, this does remind me of Steven solves. I really like how the salt's being poured as well. Like on the left-hand side. It needs to go to the top and the bottom and to look symmetrical.
Oh, there's also some amount of wasted Quicksilver. You can watch every now and then as a Quicksilver that takes a lap around the 6-arm because it isn't needed. But it's enough to ensure that it has gold every time.
Yeah, so this is, that would have made a difference if I made this solve silver fulminate instead. Since that uses, the fact that you can't project past gold.
Oh, so the one that was 3 to 8 on both was lead in the input and silver in the
output? No. That was one of the considerations I wanted to do when, like, I noticed that Zorfax had a solve that's also fulminating gold. I was like, oh, maybe I can make it silver fulminate instead. Which probably already exists as a puzzle as well, but But then I considered the fact that with gold you can do stuff like this, so I decided against actually changing it to silver. So the previous version I've been talking about with tin, with that's perfect throughput between both the metals and the salt likes, is same output pretty much with slightly different bonds and explosive vial and reactive tin.
Oh, okay. So it'd be a different, just like you could put totally different stations because there's no metal bond for fire in the inputs.
Yeah.
I like what came out. This is an interesting puzzle. Also, this solution is so beautiful.
We have to, we have to get Cuckoo52 to send the game. Because I don't want to, like, use F10 to... do I need F... Oh, no, you don't need F10 for this one. Yeah, Cuckoo52 can send the gift. GIF, whatever, themselves. But yeah,
GIF.
the GIF. That's how it used to be pronounced, I think. Anyways, in 30th place, we have in 1610 gold, B. Smith. Oh, we can zoom back in now.
Compact.
This one has a 16 cycle loop as well.
Oh, so this does something similar, except it doesn't, like,
Doesn't make a wall.
yeah, it doesn't make a wall of color.
This is a cool sort of moving to the next station and knowing what that station is supposed to do. I like this solve too. It looks like it's effectively every 8 out of the top and every 16 out of the bottom. Which I'm trying to figure out how that works with the fact that it is using salt in the bottom. Is it moving material back up to the top?
When does it move material back up to the top?
It doesn't. It's sending 4 fire to the top, and then one of them gets salt. They're classified.
Okay.
Oh, the salt input is at the top. I was looking at the salt down on the bottom and thinking that it was coming from a salt input, but it's just...
Oh, no, that's a calcifier.
I was thinking that for a moment as well. I was like, yes, there's a salt input in the bottom left, and the top right. Wait, wasn't there only the one? Yeah, no.
No, that's a split pipeline.
It's always covered on every single cycle.
Yeah. I thought that too. I was like, wait. I always find these throughput solves that make a stick and then like do the pipelines interesting, because that's not how I approach throughput personally.
Also, Hexton points out a good point. There's no metal waste explicitly in this one, but it's using a lot of quicksilver.
Oh, yeah.
It's making that happen by purifying silver to make gold.
It's also
not inefficient.
It's also just not pulling quicksilver like every like as fast as possible.
True, but you have to do a lot of purification to be able to not have excess metals. So it's purifying silver at the bottom.
Yeah. But yeah, about actually doing throughput, my approach is pulling the inputs as fast as possible and then like slapping everything together with no sense of like no organization at all, and hope the pipelines match. If not, just throw them around. I think somebody else does that.
Just throw down more arms.
Yeah,
that's true when your goal is to get primary and then move on, but if you want to get cost optimization, you have to do so much backing up and thinking.
Yeah, Taylor does that.
Yep.
But yeah, next up in 29th place we have at 1570 gold, Moroconda. Surely the worst at min rate now.
He says, ahead of 4 other people at min rate.
Oh, there's Critelli. Alright. Now it fits on the screen better. That is an odd one out, more than gold right there. That's a lot of odd one. That's a lot of waste of just like half a partial product.
Yeah, the arm on the track that is desynced that takes outputs away before they are ready.
From first place to 29.
Good job, Moroconda, on finishing mid-rate, because I know that at least I've seen quite a lot from them in the Discord talking about how min rate is just a nightmare and they have to keep putting hacks on top of hacks and they're not sure if it'll work. They got through. They got to the 5 primary points.
Yeah. min rate is like very not complicated, but it requires quite a bit of machinery. Oh yeah, so I don't remember if I've talked about it before, but the inspiration for this puzzle was high gloss finish. I looked at high gloss finish and was like, huh, that's complicated. I wonder if I can make that a throughput metric instead.
Yeah, it was my intentionally as complicated as I'm willing to ask from people solve, and I made sure to do it the week before the computation puzzle so that no one was too burned out for one other regular puzzle between that and the end.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, cycles is complicated. How about we do throughput instead? So I originally did not have a second metric, and like Grimmy was one of my puzzle consultants.
Oh, okay.
And I sent it to Grimmy, and they were like, you know, they joked about having throughput, having latency as a secondary metric. I was like, you know what, that actually works.
It works exceptionally well. This is probably the best latency puzzle I have ever seen.
I mean, the one that I set it on is on a different version of the puzzle, but yeah.
True.
So
I remember Grimmy being one of the first people to think about latency for preservative salt and find that you can make one output faster than you can make the last output because of just how it works.
Yeah.
I do wish Grimmy participated in more tournaments, but they have their preferences. Competing is not one of them.
Yeah. Alright, next up then, we have in 28th place at 1480 gold, Chickens in the Attic.
I love that everything starts at 0, just it shows it all moving and empty stuff.
Nice. Oh, never mind, it stops doing that. Eventually. Zoomod has some issues regarding the actual bounding box of the instructions tray.
Sloppy rendering.
No, the rendering is... yeah. The image rendering is fine, but the actual, like, box for the collision box for detecting whatever that's supposed to be called, for detecting where the mouse cursor is, has not been expanded and shrunk with the rest of the solution. Not the solution, the view.
Oh, Chickens in the Attic mentions in chat that the only thing that doesn't start on cycle 1 are the arms that grab input, so that it can just flail around doing nothing for a while and go fine.
I like the fire atom that goes on a fun journey on the left.
Oh. That's one way to get things around.
There are lots of ways to move things around a solution.
Outside of the solution is one of them, and the most convenient.
We can't all be Earthiana Jones.
Alright, next up. Speaking of moving things all around the outside, Tilaire at 1410 gold.
Oh, look at all these 6 arms.
Oh, Tilaire improve on their solution. I remember seeing the previous version where it was just arms on the outside just passing salt or fire around.
I really like how this comes together. It's a nightmare to program this, because you have to count how many times the arms rotate before the thing gets to where they're going. But they made it work. This is very cool.
Yeah. Also, is there... yeah, there's metal waste. There's only a metal waste stick. All the Vita is getting disposed of.
Yeah, figuring out how to dispose things or waste chain them is a little annoying in this puzzle. Because you get one disposal, but there's two animismus glyphs forced at min rate, because you cannot operate an animismus twice in 5.33 cycles, and you'll probably have metal waste.
Yeah. Unless you want to like spend extra gold to purify more all the extra metal, all the extra iron you're pulling because of the iron hematite input.
True, yeah. Iron that gets purified after getting Quicksilver. Like, I think there's also an easy proof that you need to place both purification and projection in order to reach max throughput, because either one on its own won't. But how many of each glyph you need to place is kind of a question.
Yeah. Alright. Next up, we have 1,400 gold in 26th place, Buttermilk Donut. I wonder if it's possible to save 10 gold here on this solution. Via just
Yeah, just build buttermilk donuts, the solution instead.
Oh yeah, that's straight up just passing more all the way around.
This looks like it's a 1/6 and 1/48. There are basically three approaches I've figured out to do this, and maybe someone faster later on will show us another that I didn't think of, but the output can be made every 6 cycles by one pipeline, and then the leftover is combined into one output every 48 cycles. Or you can do 1/8 plus 1/16, or you can try to get 3/16 directly, which is kind of a clunky machine that works.
It's probably easier to get 3/16 if the salt likes and the metals are separate, like just directly.
Yeah, I mean, I made one of my solutions was a 3/16 directly, and there was a lot of distance between the inputs.
Oh, hello, Jasper says they have a 3/16 directly. Guess we'll be like watching that. Pipelines are very helpful though. They take a complicated fraction and simplify it.
Yeah, 3/16 is, if you can do every 4, then you can give yourself 4 pause beats across the 16 beats to get 3 every 16.
Alright, next up, we have at 1375 gold, Cavalier. That was weird. Throughput 3. Hopefully that O does not mean overlap.
I was gonna say, oh!
I wonder what that means. Okay, yeah, this looks like 3/16 directly.
Yeah, if there's only one arm that can make outputs, I'd probably call it a 3/16 directly.
Also, that's a... What's arm 37 doing?
It looks like it was getting one output out of the way beforehand. But you'd have to see it at the beginning, I think, before it is on its
Like,
track.
why is it needed? I wonder if arm... I wonder if that arm can actually be removed.
It might...
Because it doesn't seem like there's much of a difference between all the other outputs, later outputs coming in.
If you fast forward 16 cycles from when that arm grabs, is it for some reason impossible for the 6 arm to grab? The 6 arm grabbing here would be ideal, but is it impossible for the 6 arm to grab one tape loop later on that same cycle? it would not be able to grab early enough.
Huh.
I don't know whether that's a problem.
I'm guessing to over there and try things out. Not sure.
I've seen them in Discord. They can probably answer to some of the questions we're having about it, but
Yeah. Don't quite feel like tinkering the solution yet. Right now. If that were to be saved, that's 20 and then plus 15, 35 gold. Does 35 gold matter? Yes, it does. But we're not even sure if it can be saved.
I like the way that Animismus is loaded, by the way, with 2 arms that have access to far and close sides of 2 different Animismus whips.
Oh wait, the extra salt doesn't even go in Animus. Oh wait, there's Animus on top as well. There's 3 Animus with whips.
Yeah, what's happening on the right is equivalent to loading 1 Animismus every 4, so it's not enough to solve it on its own. Kevelin's here in Twitch chat and says the first output has timing problems. Not elaborating in a way that's really clear on stream, but it seems like, yeah, there's a way that it won't work.
I mean, yeah, obviously it has timing problems. Otherwise, that arm wouldn't have to be there. But yeah, next up we have in 24th place at 1360 gold, Topo Mouse. Oh, I can zoom in now. This was much more compact looking. That is an odd one out pipeline.
Yep, every 48 cycles, the arm on the track at the top right does deliver something.
And also, that is a lot of... Oh, so the odd one out pipeline is done only via purification.
Yep. You get to use projection only for the every 6 pipeline if you don't ever use purification. And there's enough metal left over to do full purification on the odd one out. It does mean you still have some metal waste, but it's half the metal.
Alrighty, next up we have a new submitter, actually. They have submitted before for the weeklies, but not for the tournament. YX Web.
Oh, welcome back.
Full throughput. Wow, these are getting compact. This one doesn't quite fit on the screen, though. I guess that one's a waste, so it doesn't. Oh, it's laggy. Another odd one out.
Resetting your 6 arm, I see at the top. That's an instruction that you didn't need to place. Oh my god, also 7275i.
72. Oh, right, that shows up on the screen. Yeah, no wonder it's laggy. Ugh.
That would be the lag, yeah. This looks like it must be a tape loop of length 192, maybe more than that, like 3x that.
No idea. Yeah, that is a high instruction count.
It might be the arm loop at the top left that has 5 arms on it. Yeah, the LCM problems when you want to cut one arm from a track loop mean that you end up making these really high period solutions. But this runs well enough to watch.
Also, why is it throwing gold away?
You've already purified it, might as well.
It's funny seeing the sub just throw gold away. Apparently you have enough metals that you can make a gold waste chain.
Yeah, mine has a silver waste chain, but gold waste chain would be just as easy.
Right, because you can just... If you have a iron waste chain, you can just keep on purifying it. A bit of side cash. Yeah. Make the explosives and make some bit of extra money as well.
I like the two tri-arms on a triangle track. They have quite
yeah.
a busy instruction tape going.
Mhm.
You have to do some pivots to build the elbow of Salt and Moors, and then attach it to the gold, and then attach that to the fire. So they're doing a lot of work for two arms.
Yeah. Alright, next up we have at 1350 gold.
Wow, this is a small gap.
Yeah. Guilty Bystander. In 22nd place. I feel like I'm driving a runaway train. By the way, watch Fire 9. Oh, okay then. This one doesn't fit on screen as nicely. Good thing we have Zoom mod. Oh, where is everything going?
This is a brick style.
Huh? It's a cheaper
Grab
brick.
18, yeah, grab 8 inputs and then just brick it up.
Wait.
I like this. I always like this kind of a solution.
Oh, I see. I see what they mean by Fire 9. Oh, that's.
What's fire number 9? 1, 2, 3,
There's 8
4,
fire on
5,
one side.
6,
Fire number 9's on the
7,
other side.
8. Oh, okay.
It gets
And that
debonded
one,
at the
what does
pin.
that do?
It gets debonded and moved around.
Oh. It gets sent to the next input.
Spicy. Does that mean there's a malformed output at some point?
No, because the next one also loses its fire.
It just keeps on losing the fire. And passed on to the next
Oh wait,
one.
there is a malformed output as well, because the first one has...
Alright, yeah, the first one doesn't
single
have...
arm on the right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
This brick style approach is near and dear to my heart, although this implementation is pretty expensive.
Yeah. I wonder if this is the cheapest brick, though. I stopped looking at the solutions coming in at a certain point.
So how do you define a brick? Does it have to be made of inputs, or can a brick be made of outputs?
Brick has to be large. What was your definition for brick-like anyways? Largest
my
molecule?
definition for brick when I was joking in DMs to you was that you have to have more than 40 atoms bonded together.
I remember you mentioning that the metric of measuring how brick-like a solution is the largest molecule.
I think Cuckoo is going to have to win that, though. I doubt anyone else from here on out will have a wall intimidated.
Yeah. Alright. Next up, we have at 1295 gold in 21st place, Gecko. Rotate the solution. I'll probably zoom in 1 step more. Yeah, that works.
Oh, this one has a swinging waist chain for Vitae and for iron because it's cheaper.
Wait, where's this one?
4 swinging waist chains, 3 Vitae and 1 iron.
There is no disposal glyph in this solution.
What?
That is 10 gold
10 gold
easily
left.
saved.
Actually, probably more than 10 because the Vitae on the bottom and the iron on the bottom left are made available 3 tiles apart, so a length 3 hex arm could deliver both as smooth as possible.
Also, it's lagging. Yeah, the solution.
The 6 arm on the left is to perform 2 pivots.
Classic TI tech right there.
Yeah, so if you didn't know, you can use disposal on this solution, this puzzle. Yeah, there's no way to calculate area infinity if there's waste chains. It would just be infinity as well. But yeah.
I think the claim from Shadow Cluster and Co. is that you could have a quadratic portion and get an exact coefficient on that and be able to same as quantum renormalization. You can just subtract off the known infinities.
Math. It feels a bit of fun.
Maybe saying that in the practice of a mathematician like Mr. Puzzle will be angering. Or maybe it's regular, normal things like subtracting off infinity.
Well, sort of. Like, there's I know there's a similar thing when you're dealing with like complex equations and you're trying to get rid of poles. And you're like, well, okay, let's see. We know there's a pole here, so now we just multiply by that to get rid of the divide by infinity or divide by zero issue, and then we'll just look at what's left.
That's true, yeah.
And it's a similar thing, and it makes sense in that metric context, because it's like if you have two puzzles and one of them is growing faster than the other in the quadratic term, then that one's going to be worse. And so like you compare the quadratic terms, and then if they tie, you compare the linear, and then if those tie, then you compare the constants, and it's like that makes sense.
Also, I think that's Chickens in the Attic mentioning that ARM6 is doing TI tech.
Yeah, we did mention that. It's a double pivot so that it can pivot in two locations at the cost of one arm. Multi-arm.
Alright, it's getting laggy. Okay. Next up, we have in 20th place, Hello Jasper at 1245 gold.
I've seen Hello Jasper in chat quite a bit talking about how their solve is conceptually simple and didn't take them long to build. So I was wondering, like, what does that mean?
Maybe they're just good at building throughput monsters.
I like the second iron in the top left. It goes on quite a journey.
Second iron in the top left?
Yeah, arm 9 grabs it. It's built. It's assembled into a small brick. It and assault goes over and bonds to a Moors, and then it's debonded.
Yeah, I see it.
But yeah, pretty much.
This seems like it's very well organized, but it is still expensive. It's making 3 animismus lives. But every arm seems to be trying to do the work as if it were on a 4-cycle loop, and it just takes a little break so that it can make the actual rate. I don't think there are any arms here that would need a 6-cycle loop.
I think
Arm 15 needs a 5-cycle loop, which is a little cutting it close.
Where's arm 15?
In the very top, it's doing a pivot rotate.
Yeah.
Oh, and so does the arm it hands it off to. There's another pivot rotate. Yeah, 5 is a very powerful amount of instructions because you can grab, rotate, pivot, drop, rotate back.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things I tried when I was doing a direct 3/16 solution used a handful of 5-cycle loops.
Yeah, an extra pivot can help a lot.
It just means that your arm gets to help your atoms be in 2 places instead of 1, like a 4-cycle loop.
Alrighty, next up, we have in 19th place at 2010 gold, Tweedledee. I cannot
2010? 1210.
Oh, 1210. I am bad at words.
2022.
Current year. Tular makes a good point. Every pivot squeezed in is 20 gold of triplex bonders saved.
Yep.
This one makes a trapezoid of fire-like inputs, and it has to break the bond because you don't have 4 connected fires in the output.
This is gonna get laggy as well. Gosh darn beat day chains.
that hex arm. What number is that? Something teen. It's on it's hex arm on track, kind of in the middle of the top left half.
The one that touches
I
the
can't
wall
tell what
together.
arm that is as well. I think that's 24.
Grab,
This one, right? Where my cursor
grab,
is.
move. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Grab, move, swing. Oh, that one is doing a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I can't let this solution run for a long time. It starts to get laggy because of that swinging DK chain.
I'm so sorry. You might not even get to 6 outputs on my solution.
Uh-oh.
We'll see. We'll see about that. Yeah. I have gotten a more powerful computer since the weeklies.
Nice. I'm glad area is not a metric because mine's over 3,000.
But yeah, next up we have in 18th place at 1200 no, it's not cycles, 1200 cost, not great. Okay, we can zoom back in. Two pipelines. One of them's the odd one out.
Is it an every 48 out? Oh, no, this looks like it's an 8 plus a 116.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that odd. It's doing 2 per every one the other one makes. It's really cool to see this because I think it's, in my mind, the hardest of the 3 approaches was the 1/8 plus 1/16.
Huh.
Maybe I
so.
just wasn't seeing the way it wouldn't be hard, but it's cool to see it solved like this. It does it pretty well.
Yeah. Why did you think this would be the hardest now?
I don't know, but I couldn't find a way to make it break in half and break into the separate pieces needed to make 1/16 and 1/8.
Uh-huh.
It's very easy to see how to break 1/6 and 1/48, and you don't have to do any breaking to do it directly. So maybe I just missed something.
1/6 and 1/48 feels like just making one pipeline and then taking all the extra waste and trying to assemble something else out of it.
Exactly, and that's how I did it. You don't need very many arms to do the 1/48.
Yeah.
The 1/6 you can use pretend this is a sum puzzle that's easier and doesn't have an ugly rate, and just build a 1/6 pipeline to get that one done.
I wonder if that's why Goodbye Galaxy said this is like a sum puzzle.
Yeah, the 1/6 part does feel like it could be a sum puzzle, but that's only if you use that method.
Also, wait, whose game making is fun?
Game making is fun is not great.
Alright. I forget everyone's names on Twitch. Alright. Next up, we have in 17th place at 1175 gold, Ebanov. Embrace jaywalking. Do we get crossing?
Jaywalking.
Does anything ever cross over anything? Probably the Vitae. Probably the Vitae getting out.
I love that the 6-arm does a rotate clockwise and then a double rotate counterclockwise so that it can pull from both directions.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that's neat.
Right. This is a 16th cycle instruction tape, and you can see that the input has 4 different ways that it gets pulled. 1 every 4, 1 every 8, 1 every 8.
Uh-huh.
When I say the input, it's obviously the fire input. The other inputs are pretty well used. There's 3 projection glyphs though, so the Quicksilver does have a bit of complexity.
Yeah. Alrighty, next up we have in 16th place at 1135 gold, Andy. Invasive surgery.
Ooh.
The names are so clever.
This one has a lot of setup.
Well, it can't be set up that much because the arms are grabbing input and they're all on tracks.
This one just
Yeah,
has the extra pipeline coming way later.
that makes some sense. It needs to have everything ready for it, and I think the arms that are delivering outputs want it to wait until there's ready outputs there.
Uh-huh.
I love the salt on the 6-arm that gets to the animismus without crashing. That's
Nice.
so smart. I didn't think of that, and that's really smart.
I like the iron waste at the top.
Oh, that's the glide factor. It's overlapping with the output.
But it makes sure never to block it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there is one bit of output that is never made into an output. There's like a diamond of iron and fire with a couple of pieces stuck on it that
Okay.
never moves after getting dropped in the middle.
That's a pretty shape. Oh, that's where Critelli is as well. Nice.
That's fun. Nice. My favorite thing so far about this one is the completely dirt simple projection.
Oh,
So
there's
you
only
have
one projection glyph.
one projection glyph and 2 arms serving it, and that's the only projection that happens.
Wow. There's only one purification glyph as well, is there?
What I'm curious about is, how come that first input is removed and just left on the board? Is it because of timing issues with other parts of the solve? It doesn't
Probably.
look malformed.
Almost certainly, yeah.
Also, I guess one purification and one projection is enough.
Yeah, and that's...
Yep.
That was true of my direct.
Okay,
I
it's
use
lagging.
more purifications in my odd one outs.
Okay, next up we have in 15th place at 1115 gold Newarshire. 9 of 48. This is compact. We can zoom in. Like a lot.
Wow.
Oh, it's lagging. It's 5,410 instructions.
Yikes. Well, this isn't every 6
Oh.
pipeline in the middle, and then the odd one out seems to be happening in the bottom right.
Oh, I see why. There's a spicy
Oh.
track right in the middle.
Oh man, that's almost a capital letter H.
It's an H without 2 of the corners. Yeah, that is a spicy track loop. Oh boy.
And when your odd one out pipeline already forces your period to be a multiple of 48, that track loop has to have been an headache and a half. It has arm 1 and arm 11 on it, doesn't it? So it's an 11 arm track loop?
I don't think arm 1 is on it.
Oh, okay, I see 2 and 11. Okay, so it's a 10 arm track loop.
Yeah.
So
Where
you
is
have to
arm 1 then?
accommodate-
Is arm 1 the one
You
on
have
the
to
top?
accommodate
Yeah, arm 1's the one on the top that I have off screen.
I think that forces this to be period 480. No, 240. 240 is fine.
We can find out.
You could hear me moving closer to the screen? Is this ASMR stream?
Yes, we can. We can hear pretty clearly that you're moving closer to the screen. No, never mind. We can't find out because it solves before it finishes the loop.
Up next is ASMR Latency.
Latency go.
Pling, 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 pling. Ka-tunk. Alright. Next up, we have in 14th place at 1110, Andres K.
Wow, these gaps are still so small.
I know.
kind of hoping they stay small.
Competition has definitely gotten more fierce.
I continue to predict that Mr. Puzzle beats me, but I'm not sure how much I. We'll see.
Y'all want to make a bet on that?
I don't want to bet on anything this time. Secondaries and cost in these sort of puzzles is really hard to guess on.
Which is why cost has been pretty popular.
I just love seeing everyone design something that's pretty complicated. Like, I want more people to tackle something complicated as part of the game.
Yeah.
Even if it's kind of brutal of me to want that of anyone. These aren't really easy things to build, but I love when people build them.
I like not necessarily that we have a bunch of different complex solves, but that we have a bunch of different solves. Like we haven't really had any. We haven't like. There's a lot of common themes and ideas, but like these are all radically different from each other.
Yeah. Like, it does kind of converge eventually from the solves I've seen. Once we get to the more cost-optimized solutions. Judging by what Biggie told me, I haven't seen his new solution yet. It's very different from most of the other solves.
I have two solves that are 10 gold apart with massively different fundamental approaches. Like, one is a 1/6 plus 148 with a cursed brick to get around the solve, and the other is a direct 3 per 16. And they're 10 gold apart.
Yeah. Alright, next up we have in 13th place at 1085 gold, Madmaster. Oh well. Kitty. Oh well.
Area Schmaria.
Madmaster, your kitty needs ears. It can't hear.
Your contribution is appreciated. Oh, actual kitty pictures in Twitch chat.
Ooh.
Alright, anyone on YouTube, feel free to type in that Indra link directly. It's worth it.
Also, Madmaster messaged me that the VK is making the kitty blush.
Oh, that's fun.
From left to right, very slowly. Okay, but about the actual solution though.
This looks like it's an 8th plus a 16th. The 8th is coming around the bottom right, and the 16th is coming around the top left. The 16th also waits a heck of a long time on those equilibrium glyphs. That's what something he had said in the chat of like, I give a nice little raft of equilibriums for the atoms to wait on if they have a long time.
Oh my god, the kitty's adorable.
I think the biggest issue I had with 8th plus 16th is the Quicksilver routing. And seeing how all the 8th plus 16ths I've seen handle it, I tend to agree with myself on the back.
Yeah. That's a very far Quicksilver from like the input.
Oh, Madmaster points out in chat, not only is this 1/8 plus 1/16, but you could separate the two pipelines from each other and they would each work individually. There's not any requirements that the other exist.
You can delete one and it'll still work.
That's the way that we teach the new players to solve airship fuel in 19 cycles.
And yeah, there's a little O on the top right. Alright, next up we have in 12th place at 1050 gold, Mr. Puzzle.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
I was wrong on that bet.
Oof. I did a complete redesign, except like using the like I came up with an idea, rebuilt it from the ground up to try and save gold, and I saved 5. Yeah.
Well, then I doubled your redesign efficacy because I saved 10.
Yeah. I'm proud of the tri-arms on the bottom left though.
I like how the salt
Oh,
goes
those
over
are really
the
cool.
disposal.
How often do they have to work? 3 times per 16 cycles?
Yep.
Could it be... No, there's too many arms in the way. I was going to wonder if it could be a triangle track that operates every 5 cycles, because I had that in one of mine.
Chiller says they saved 700 gold. Yeah.
Yeah, the differences in how much gold you save does come down to what your first idea looks like. And a lot of the people who are these top competitors will have a strict aversion to making something non-optimized, so they won't build anything until it's promising. That's kind of what gives me solver's block on these puzzles.
Yeah. They come up with an idea first. And then like try to do it, and if it doesn't go well, they scrap it and try something else.
I had 38 solution files, but only like 5 different solutions that finished.
Uh-huh.
One other thing I want to point out with this solution is if you start it up from the beginning again, you can see that one of the fire atoms that's turned into salt shows up too early to be used. In the
So that's
line.
why the disposal goes over, the salt goes over disposal.
I was noticing you snatching from off the top of the disposal, and that's just because of this. That's really cool.
Yep.
And you're disposing of extra copper as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's conditionally thrown away whenever there's no fire bonded to it.
Right. Only one of the there's 4 coppers that go through there, and one of them is always thrown away. But there's some extra coppers in the beginning that need to be thrown away because stuff isn't set up yet.
Uh-huh. Lots of conditionals. I like it. Conditionals are like one of my favorite things in Opus Magnum, to be honest.
And then you're gonna love my latency solve.
Oh boy. Alright, next up we have, in 11th place, at exactly 1,000 gold, username Void.
Ooh.
I can probably rotate this thing. Yeah. Oh, is there a secondary tie? There's a secondary tie.
Hackton probably is wutting over that.
669 instructions. And Haxton has better.
So this is a direct 3 per 6. No, wait, this is an 8th and a 16th. Never mind, there's something else going on this screen. Oh, it scraps the first pair of fires to come by and adds them to the next 2, 3. Some get scrapped. Oh, it's duplicating. Okay, it scraps 2 fires, and it uses that plus 1 salt to turn 3 2s into 3 3s. So that's how it ends up being a direct 3 per 16. It's a 4 per 16 that scraps one of them. Yeah, the way that the stuff being delivered by ARM, I can't read it at all. The 6 arm on the left.
6 arm on the left is 16. This one, right? You mean this arm?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking at everything that thing is handling, and it doesn't get metal once, and it's really the heart of how this manages to hit the ratio while still grabbing everything.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I like how the purification works. Sometimes it just returns the copper instead. Sometimes you get an iron, sometimes you get a copper. Nice.
There's also an accelerated projection happening. There's an arm that exists to make it be 3 projections in a short period of time for when it is an iron.
You can actually get 2 projections in a cycle without overlap.
Yeah, but you need to have it on 2 glyphs.
Yeah. I found that out.
Yeah, and it also
recently.
precludes you using the second half cycle of the second cycle, so it doesn't get better than 1 per cycle in throughput sense.
Yeah, unless you start using overlap. But that's probably the reason that overlap actually does double consumption, so that's possible.
Yeah, so that you don't have something that clearly should have procced but hasn't yet when you pressed tab.
Another thing that I found out while snooping around in the code for modding purposes is another reason why there are half cycles is because consumption glyphs like purification and animismus will consume on one half cycle and produce on the other half cycle. And then it'll save, so then you don't have to try and figure out the code for both of them at the same time.
That makes a lot of sense. Alrighty, next up we have also at 1,000 gold, but 315 instructions in 10th place, Hexton.
Half the instructions.
Yeah, half the tape loop.
Oof.
Also, who has predictions for top 3?
I'm putting Pentapig and Spect up there because they're just both exceptionally powerful in this tournament. And I can hope for me in the group as well, but I don't know.
I don't remember because a lot of salts came in and at last minute and I haven't looked at them.
I'm trying to decipher this one, and it looks like it's,
Oh yeah, Rolami submitted too.
This is 2 balanced pipelines somehow, or maybe I'm just wrong.
Hey.
No, the one on the right is coming out half as often. It's 8 plus doubles. Yeah, Haxton confirms. 8th plus 16th, and the right is handling the 116th. I see the way that the purification glyph, not the purification, but the animismus glyph on the right is loaded here. Looks a lot like what I was expecting, based on the Curious Lipstick, Sum, and RG records. You can't load at length 2 immediately because it'll crash into the
that one. The bottom left one.
So you have to pull backward and then move them both in at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very reminiscent of Curious Lipstick. That's probably where I first learned the trick. That you can do that. Using somewhat of input suppression, I guess.
Yeah, you're moving over the input as it is moved, so you never block it, but you use the fact that it's impermeable. Or permeable, that one.
Alright, next up we have, in 9th place at 990 gold, Velvacane.
I also liked Haxton's solution name, What is Arm Island? Because arms and atoms were kind of interspersed with each other.
Yeah.
Kind of throughput requires that.
The clearest arm island I've seen so far is Newer Char's, like, 10-arm track loop.
Yes, that was going to be my example too. Oh hey, this one has the exact same animismus on the top right. Top left.
Who is Tanipistine? How do I pronounce your name?
Panopus team, I've not heard them before in Discord, so maybe you need to see.
Oh yeah, since Zachtronics makes programming games, so we have a lot of programmers. That's why we share a lot of vocabulary and computer architecture.
Oh, okay, that's
Parissa,
the name that I could never pronounce on Discord.
That's just Parissa, right?
Parissa, sure, that makes more sense. I always thought it was like, the upside down characters.
Yeah, that's a schwa.
Anyway, I like that this one has the every 2 cycle 4-arm loop at the very bottom to help get the fire input. The only arms that ever grab the fire input are on that track, and it's a very efficient 2-cycle loop track.
Mhm. Alrighty. Next up, we have in 8th place at 970 gold, Feindeer. This is loud. That's triplexes. There's 2 triplex glyphs. That's not a lot at all.
Yeah, that's close to the minimum you can get this solution
Close to the minimum, you can have 1?
I don't think you can have 1, I just didn't feel confident enough in that to say it.
Okay.
No, you have to make 6 triplex per 5.333 cycles, so 1 is impossible.
Yeah.
It's doing an every 6 loop on the first triplex, and then there's a 1 in 48 coming out of the right one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is every cycle triplex usage on the every 6 pipeline on the left. That's really neat. And then the odd one out pipeline on the right has to deliver.
I wonder if that has applications in latency.
I mean, I can prove that it has applications at non-min latency, but I can also prove that at min latency it doesn't work.
I can prove it at non-min latency too. See here, this solution right here uses it right. Wait.
Yeah, he's got a point.
These solves are making the puzzle seem easier than they are.
These solves reflect a lot of effort that went into making the puzzle seem easy.
Yeah. That's what cost optimizing. That's what optimizing does in general. It makes the solve look easier than it is.
Yeah, we've got the animismus glyph that's operating every 3 cycles next to the disposal to be maximally efficient. We have the triplex glyph that's maximally efficient. I think Feindeer put a lot of effort into the every 6 pipeline on the left here, and then just hoped that the every 48 on the right could work.
Yeah. I guess that also explains why it has to travel quite a bit.
Yeah, the travel is the biggest problem with the 1/6 plus 148, in my opinion and experience.
Well, I mean, it looks easier than, like, what the higher cost ones do.
Yeah, this looks like it's less thinking than, say, BritBoy's solve, but BritBoy's solve is more programming and more difficulty in that way.
Yeah, and as we get cheaper, it looks even simpler. But yeah, next up we have in 7th place, at 950 gold, a new submitter to the Opus Magnum tournament, Darius.
Oh, Darius, that makes total sense. So the very first person to try to push for cost as a metric, back when it was cost optimized full throughput, is Darius. So I'm glad they showed up for this.
Mm-hmm. Darius is from Space Chem, yeah?
Yeah, they're also very active in Space Chem. But I just remember the early days of Opus Magnum and the whole discussion about, is cycles even the right metric? Wouldn't throughput be more accurate if you're trying to build molecule level many of these? And Darius having the throughput side is like, I stand by this. Throughput is the correct metric.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an every 6 plus every 48 pipeline. I love it.
Yeah. Every 6 and every 48 is gonna appear a lot more often. Because it's convenient to build an every 6. And also, like, the 2 hex arms that put the product in an S shape. New solution 1, copy. Yeah.
All those copies are lower cases. They were made by the game. This wasn't manually added.
Uh-huh. So this is probably iteration 8.
I think we found out this week that copies created when you modify the solution name are uppercase. And
oh yeah, I knew that for a long time.
I didn't know it until this week when Morikondo was kind of asking Panic about it.
Yeah. Yeah, since I've been looking at all the solutions, and I already knew about that for quite a while. And then there's some people who, like, put in copy manually, like Shadow Cluster. Shadow Cluster does that.
I was going to mention Shadow Cluster as well. That's kind of his, like, memes.
So that's why Shadow Cluster has solves that has uppercase copies and lowercase copies. He puts in copies manually and then also puts in like copies, and then also copies the solution. Alright, next up we have in 6th place at 945 gold, who's been improving a lot over this tournament, Fiesta.
Fiesta, nice. I remember seeing
945
them in
gold.
Discord talking about this puzzle.
Queen Hex.
I wonder what Queen Hex is referring to.
Probably the hex arm that's grabbing inputs.
Also, odd one out is happening.
Yep, there's a very gradual brick of fire and salt being pushed off. And there's also gold being created. But there's 2 golds per every time you've made the output, so one of those golds is going to be waste. I'm curious where the gold ends up being moved. I'm somewhat lost. Where is the gold that would have been waste? Oh, there isn't, because half of the outputs are getting moved to the left where iron is created. So there's just enough metal being sent to the odd one out pipeline to enable a gold that is fully from purification, but no waste. This is a great separation of the 2 pipelines.
Yeah.
Kind of a shame it has to have 3 animismus glyphs, because one of the benefits of every 6 is that you can max out 1 animismus glyph. But there's a trade-off being made. Animismus is only 20. That's if you can save an arm, it's worth it.
Alrighty, next up, we take a bit of a drop in cost
Oh.
to 890
It mattered! It mattered!
It keeps
at 813 instructions.
It didn't matter!
890 cost, 813 instructions, in 5th place for Latency.
My 3 per 16 was 890 and 200 something instructions.
Yeah, it's 200, 500. You had a 578 instruction solve.
And then I realized I didn't need to have it be 32 cycle loop, so I cut it in half to 289.
Yeah, and then there was a 289.
And I submitted that one as showcase as well.
Ah, okay. We could just straight up show it.
Yeah, sure. There's
Yeah.
2 different ideas that are so different, but they were both my solve. I just don't want to take up that.
Since it's like just in here anyways.
Sounds good.
289 is such a small instruction.
It was a really efficient holistic pipeline that did everything at 3 per 16. But anyway, let's talk about Romneys, which is also doing that, I think.
Okay, so yeah, 890 is actually pretty close to the minimum.
Oh, cool.
That tells a lot
Okay,
from
Romneys
thinking.
is 1/6 plus 148. You can see the top is the odd one out pipeline, and there's
Yeah,
a bit of bonding that has to happen, which is a little unfortunate. Every one of those bonders probably hurt him, knowing how like attentive he is to every detail in these solves.
yeah. Oh yeah, the bonder, like the bonder. Yeah, all the bonders up top. Rolly probably could have cut like a 2 or 3, like 2 bonders or so if this was more optimized, maybe?
Chat is pointing out, me, Penta, Spect, Zorflax, Goodbye Galaxy
Oh,
all aren't on the list yet. One
yeah,
of us didn't submit.
Zorflax didn't end up submitting.
Ah, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zorflax hasn't sent me a throughput solve either. And they ended up not submitting their latency solve that they sent me.
Man, yeah, I think pressure is getting to him. Even if he's good at the game, he's not having fun with it.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, but real.
tournament can be pretty stressful for a lot of people.
Rolomni also was saying that he's too stressed out to make a solve, and he threw this together and made 5th place out of it anyway. So that's
Well, Rolomni's just good at the game. Also, Rolomni does a lot of planning, so like, you probably already had an idea planned out.
A rate solve that is good, even if he's not trying to make it the best.
Zorflex is here with us in the chat. Just hasn't been talking much. Yeah. I kind of assumed so when you when you didn't respond to the fact that I mentioned that you didn't submit. But yeah. Next up, in 4th place, we have at 307 instructions, Pentapig.
Oh my gosh. I was ahead of Penta as well at 890.
Oh wow, this is very, very clean.
That's a lot of triple bumpers. Oh, what?
Yeah, this has 5 triplet spawnders in it.
This looks very clean though.
This is 8 plus 16, because you can see the bottom arm is a lot busier than it would be for 148.
Also, hi Rolomni, we just passed your solve.
Alright, good work from Pentapig. I know that he's talked about RG has been a difficult metric in the past, but 4th is good.
4th place? Yeah, 4th place is good.
4th, but behind me might not be the most ideal position, given I'm in 2nd right now.
It doesn't matter that much.
It's not far behind me at all.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a lot of triplex. But only one arm to deal with it. Oh, what happened to the stream?
I just got a green bar on the stream, but otherwise it looks fine. I think your computer's struggling with the swinging noise.
No, the resolution suddenly, like, just squashed itself. Huh. That's weird.
I'm not getting that.
What? OBS is having issues, apparently.
Oh, wait, it's... Yeah, something about your display is a little screwy. There's no chat overlay, and the number backed up from 4th place to 6th place. So once you have control over OBS again, there will be a few things on the scene to refix, but maybe stop running the solve first, because that waste chain's gotten big.
That's weird. I probably need to restart OBS. That's gonna be annoying. Huh. That's weird. Alright, I'm gonna restart the stream. Hopefully that fixes things.
Alright, see you soon.
Let me actually stop streaming first. That means I have to combine the videos. Ugh.
Restore the exact sidebar as it was, and not have to, like, step through each person again.
No, that was an OBS issue. Yeah. So, yeah, it's working.
Quick, someone chat in chat.
Somebody, I get... There we go.
Okay, the chat side panel is working just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting the 8th plus 16th. I think Pentapig has 2 projection glyphs, but the arms serving them, there's still only 2 arms and 2 tracks. So he managed to make the part that I felt was awkward seem pretty elegant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this
It's
solved
not a question of what you spend your time on as anything. There are so many avenues of investigation. Something will eventually work.
This solve looks very elegant. But, yeah. Also, why does everybody's colors names different now? Name color is different now. It's red
You had
now.
to reestablish the connection to Twitch client, so OBS just re-randomized it.
Okay. Alright, so... Well, Biggie, your save ended up not mattering because you're next.
Yeah, I would be third with the
And
old solve or the new solve. Which one do you want to show first?
I'm gonna show your original one first.
Cool, it's so much prettier.
Yeah, this one's the Biggie's prettier solve.
Yeah, so it's attempting to be 3 per 16 by just making a 6-arm on the left that is rotating 3 times per 16 cycles. And then a 6-arm on the right that is rotating 3 times per 16 cycles. And everything around it just does enough work. I was happy with that.
And then Biggie's managed to save 5 gold. 5 gold?
No,
10
10
gold.
gold.
10 gold.
Yeah, I made an 880 that's much more cursed, but this one I felt like I worked on trying to make the 2 hexarm rotations happen on the same cycle. There was a little bit of freedom. I could make them happen a little bit staggered. But when I found out that I could make every rotation happen on the same cycle between them, I was like, oh, this has to be what I do. It's so pretty, and the outputs are delivered by one arm and grabbed by the other, so this is like clockwork to me.
But, yeah.
So imagine sitting on this, and then we'll switch over to my other solve and see what I replaced it with.
What?
You opened up Alarming Clock and deleted the brickening. Other way around.
Good job, me. Oh, that was a different
By the way, Alarming Clock is a reference to Don't Starve Together, and the brickening is just about bricks.
Okay.
I'm sorry in advance.
Arm 22 is concerned. Arm 22 and 21 is concerning. 22, 21,
Look at
20.
the arm on the bottom left as well, and the Critelli is in the gripper of the arm on the bottom left.
Okay, I'm assuming we have to view like this.
There's not a right perspective for it. Anyway, there's an every 6 pipeline that I think is pretty elegant, but it doesn't.
Oh, why is it going on that side? Oh, what? Why is it going that? Where is it going?
This arm has a choice of whether it makes an elbow or a straight every time it makes an output.
Oh.
So it makes the right combination of elbows
Oh,
and straights
no.
wrap around the
Oh no.
Oh no.
Okay, my computer is fine.
It made it. But yeah, there's an every 48 pipeline happening above where the output can be dropped off.
We're going to make a long crowbar and then whoop.
Yeah, the Critelli is on an arm that only has one job through the entire 96 cycle tape loop, and that is grab, pivot, drop. And that pivot design is to make it fit around. I could not make the brick reach to the other arms directly, because as soon as they tried to rotate it, it would crash into things. So I needed to make a 2-step movement around the solution, but yeah, it's the brickening.
Massive brick.
Meanwhile, the every 6 pipeline is, I think, 590 on its own, so I didn't have to add that much to get to the every 48.
Yeah. Yeah,
I felt good about the efficiency of the every 6 pipeline.
This is classic Biggie.
I had to just classic Biggie at you.
Come up with first of all, it's a brick, giant brick. Second of all, it's just Biggie's good at coming up with creative solves. Creative solves that perform well within the metric.
So yeah, I improved from 890 and 289 instructions to 880 at way more instructions, because this is a 96 cycle loop to make enough substance to reach around the solve.
Alrighty, next up we have, in second place, at 844 instructions, Goodbye Galaxy.
844 gold?
Instructions. 844 instructions.
Oh my god, so the same gold, but lower instructions. That's so cool.
Okay, so yeah, this is a cleaner solve.
What you mean what I did isn't required to hit this cost?
Yeah, this is a 1/6 and 148, right?
I'm wondering how it breaks away its output material. Oh, it's just pulling off. Okay, so the way that it's attaching a fire input to another fire input makes a lot of sense. I've seen a bunch of other solves do this, and it's something that I never did, but it allows you to break off the iron and the fire as a bonded pair and discard the other iron so you never have to have metal links.
Bottom right is Goodbye Galaxy Samsung.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a sum solve that is given an iron and a fire every 6 cycles.
Uh-huh.
And it seems like there's no routing issue in this one. It manages to have the output of the main solution line up with the output of the sum solution.
Yeah.
Maybe I caused my own problems.
Goodbye Galaxy is good at doing sum, so makes sense. But yeah, this is another one of those S-shaped main pipelines. And yeah, so the first place solve I haven't seen yet because it was submitted last hour. But in first place, which I assume y'all know already, is Spec 98 at a drop in cost, 845 cost.
Ooh,
Nice.
excellent work. Right, Bleh.
Right, Bleh proceeds to get first place.
Same in that he's struggling with the sum part of it, the 1/48 for hours, and still not satisfied, but it's better in its first place.
It should have
using
been
a
like
conveyor
800
belt.
gold.
It's using a conveyor belt to discard Vitae.
Ooh.
I love you. I love this so much.
But like, oh, okay, yeah, there it is. It also does so while, like, putting salt into animismus.
Yeah, it seems like it's easy to convince yourself the 1/48 pipeline should be really cheap, and then it isn't, and you get mad about it. At least that was my thought process while I was making myself.
Yeah.
So this is the best by a pretty substantial margin. So it's yeah, the feeling of this should have been like 800 gold, but you look at all the machinery in that, and like, well, without it, it's gonna take like 80 cycles to make this work. That's not my budget. I love that so much of this is like the every 6 pipeline. I wonder how expensive is that on its own, because it's using a lot of 6 arms, more than mine.
Yeah.
There is a trackable for positioning, but that's... I guess, how cheap is the cheapest 1/6? Did anyone make that as a showcase?
I don't think anybody, like, think that would have mattered.
I mean, all the people who made 1/6 plus 1/48 were optimizing a 1/6, but they were optimizing with a condition.
I'm not quite sure if anybody submitted that. I haven't been keeping up with the showcase off.
Gotcha. Because yeah, I had a 590 that was a 1/6, but I don't know if that's exceptional, regular, spec might have 530, I don't know.
Alright, and that's all of our throughput solves, so congratulations to Swicknadia for getting first place, Goodbye Galaxy second, Biggie Mac third, Pentapig fourth, Rolami fifth, and so on. And congratulations to everybody who got min rate, max throughput. It wasn't easy. I didn't make one myself. I made one for the old version, but never bothered with the new one. Though, when it comes to rate, I guess I don't need to actually do that much playtesting, since calculations for rate isn't that difficult.
I was still kind of... My first impression of this was that, oh yeah, it's 3 out of 8, and the inputs are balanced so that metal and salt likes both have that ratio. And I looked at it again and I was like, wait, that would be if this was 10. Okay, you've just done a weird thing with metals. Fist why?
I've received that comment of fist why, like from Rolami as well.
The good news is
Alright.
iron makes this a really good latency puzzle, and tin would have made it a bad one.
If it were 10, I'd probably change the latency puzzle around a bit. Like, the inputs around a bit. But, yeah, speaking of latency...
I'm gonna take a quick break. I'll be back.
Alright.
You can keep going if you want.
Now we can take a break. I'm just gonna let this all run in the meantime. 32 people got 60G on week 1 as well. That means the percentage of people getting min-primary is higher on this puzzle.
I wonder how many of them are the same people. I know Darius was in this and not week 1, so it's definitely not the exact same 32.
I mean, there's people who also haven't submitted that were there for week 1 that had min cost.
Yes, true.
Like,
There was,
Zorfax is one I can think of right now. Alright. Tilaire is anticipating eating the pickle. At least you don't need to eat, at least you don't need to do the olive oil shot. You got min primary, congratulations. Also, wait, Tilaire, is that your first min primary? Anyways. Yeah, we can probably be starting latency. Let me just first launch the script up first then. Yeah, there's also YXWeb. And try to find the first solve that's actually a latency solve. 3.0.5 does this count? 18. Maybe that is latency? I can't tell. 1040 code does not seem like latency. Oh well. Guilty bystander, what is that? I guess I'll find out later. Alright, I can load these in first. Should we wait for Mr. Puzzle?
I'm fine either way. I think in the early ones, we'll just kind of talk about them as solutions.
Yeah. Yeah, we can start for now.
So, hoping this doesn't bring a lot of long streams, so.
Alrighty, we'll be starting with YXWeb then. Like, actually, gotta check if it actually is a latency solve. Nope. Zoom out, zoom out. No, this looks like a throughput solve.
Is it a throughput solve that is better than their other?
Yeah, it is, I think.
Oh, this looks like it's their throughput solve without the 1/48.
Yeah, that's latency, alright.
Yeah, they didn't loop it, but they made their throughput solve not have a second pipeline and tried to make it fork fast.
Alright, I'm back.
Oh, nice. Okay. We just started.
Perfect.
So, yeah, this is a throughput solve that's probably modified a bit.
It's gotta be, because it has gold waste and it crashes.
Though I wonder if the gold is actually... No, it's just straight up crashes. It's not a collision issue. Okay, yeah. And next up, we have in 33rd place at 16 latency, Guilty Bystander.
Oh, I know they were saying in chat, I know I'm bad, but don't tell me I'm up first.
With a solution I have no idea what it means. Anybody speak any conlangs?
That's not Cthulhu stuff, is it?
My only guess was that it was Cthulhu. It's Klingon.
It's Klingon.
Klingon for winning is not important. Why keep score?
Alright, this is classic latency making a waste chain.
So this has 5 salt inputs used, or no, 4. I'm trying to count how, it's so busy when it does run. Okay, it's using 4 salt inputs, and it's using 2 fire inputs, 3 fire inputs. Oh, that's the surprise.
Huh.
So the only thing that ever actually triplex bonds is the top fire of the 2 in the input.
Uh-huh. This stream is probably going to be longer than the others.
Yeah, both the machines will take a bit to analyze.
Yeah. Alright, next up we also have at 16 latency in 32nd place at 465 gold, Darius.
Nice. That's
Ooh,
bona fide latency solve.
severely more limited.
And this looks really cost optimized.
Yeah.
The problem being it takes 5 salt inputs and Moore's is made from the 5th one, so there's a big limit on the latency there.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk about n equals whatever, l equals whatever, if you're using n equals 5 salt on the l equals 5 Moore's, you're going to have a 16.
Like, taking an extra fire and then, like, calcifying it and throwing it over probably would have increased latency by quite a bit on this solve in particular.
Yeah, it's not laid out to put fire into the animismus, so it's just going to have to work with what it's got.
Mm-hmm.
So the question of whether you could use a fire input to make the salt in the output, that could be a little quicker, because it just doesn't have to travel to that glyph. It's just attached to the output.
Yeah, I was talking about the salt. The Moore's is difficult to work with, but the salt can be bonded to the iron, I guess, but it has to project first. Oh wait, it's got space to project, still. But yeah. Alrighty. Next up we have at 15 latency in 31st place, Britboy. Chad's
We're into
red
the
line.
15 already.
So yeah, about latency, you need to do like 6 triplex bonds that can't be done simultaneously because of how triplex bonds works. Unless you start using overlap. And
yeah,
so
the single fire already limits you to a minimum of 10 if that's n equals 1, l equals 7. So you have to debond it and then triplex it 6 times.
So you have to try to do fire as soon as possible. Start working on the triplexes pretty, like, as soon as possible, but taking the salt and then using it, duplicating it, and then using it for fire, which some people do, will, like, sacrifice the latency on the Moore's. So you have to do a bit of balancing and try to find the optimal way of doing things. And there's also the, you can also pull the second fire from the next input. And there's a lot of ways to, like, try to reduce latency.
Chat pointing out, and me being surprised as well, to see a purification glyph.
Ooh. Oh yeah, purification glyph is slow.
It doesn't slow down the triplex,
Yeah.
because everything's waiting on the other parts of the solve anyway, but that's just not something you see in the faster solutions, because that changes the centerpiece from a latency of something not limiting to something limiting.
Mm-hmm. Alright, next up, we have at 14 latency in 30th place, Opus Mouse. This one is also just Moore's limited.
Yeah, it's using 5 salt, but it's using the last one to be actual salt in the output, so that's nice.
Mhm.
Which means its limit comes from n equals 4 salt at L equals 5, because it's bonding 2 ways, and that would be 14.
Yeah. These are the easier latency solves, where you
So
just
easier
use,
to digest.
yeah, just use salt for Moors and just use fire for fire. No duplication, no calcification. Makes life easy.
True, yeah, 14 is the limit if you have neither dupe nor calcification.
Alright.
But that's not a really important limit, because you have them.
Uh-huh. Okay, next up we have in 29th place, at 515 gold, Chickens in the Attic. This one's pulling a fire from the second input. And, oh, it's disposing of all iron.
60. I was wondering.
Yeah,
what the
imagine a
description-
rate solve that doesn't, or a latency solve that doesn't qualify for rate. I'm trying to find out the process here and what limits it to 14. Oh, it's still n equals 4 salt.
Yeah, it's still doing the same thing with Animismus. And next up we have, in 28th place, at 500, oh, 5 gold cheaper, B. Smith. Rotate it. With pretty much the same method.
I do like when they're moving around something that is bigger than the output and they debond it late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is...
Ooh, triplex bonded waste chain.
Ooh.
Because those are the only bonders in the area. Single bonders in your area, hard to find.
Reminds me of, improved explosive bio on the cost solves.
So yeah, when you do salt for both the Moors and the salt in the output, the cost savings come from which glyphs you use, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reuse of a bonder somewhere, but there's still a lot of arms on track. There's only 3 triplex bonders here, which is nice, but there's 2 projectors.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, next up, we have in 27th place at 435 gold, Catspin. Rip Tertiary. 520, 520 is fine. I'm guessing that just means it's 60.
Yeah, this looks like a 6T.
Yeah, we see mostly the same method still. I guess this is most 14 latency solves. I like how
This one
each
has-
waste is different though.
This one has a lot of bonding,
Mm-hmm.
but it only has 2 triplex, so that's a big save over the previous, and has far less track.
Yeah. 14 seems to be the first converging point where Animismus is separate from the fire.
Yeah, as soon as you get down to faster than this, you need to pass something from one input to the other. Oh yeah, Kat's been also mentioning she saved a lot of gold by using the arm that inputs Quicksilver to handle waste.
Mm-hmm. So you don't have to add extra track, I assume?
Don't have to use an extra arm either.
Yeah. I wonder if it's possible to just use the bonders that exist, though.
Probably. Arm 2 can talk to both sides of one of them, so it
Yeah.
can make something that might get in the way of other machinery.
Since you got, like, as many cycles as you want between each product. Yeah. Next up, we have in 26th place at 13 latency now, Chilair.
We're into 13. All right. Well, he's going to be eating a pickle, though, because you can go lower than 13.
Is
That
this...
said...
No, just calcification, alright.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's using...
calcification is just for the extra salt. But just for the salt. And not for the
Yep.
Mors.
The input used 4 of the fire atoms. 1 becoming salt. And so there's 4 salt coming from animismus. I'm trying to figure out why this is 13. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, and it immediately bonds to the output, right? So that would be n equals 4, l equals 4. Oh, because it's able to put it directly into a multibonder, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So it saves 1 latency on the previous solution by still using its 4th salt for Mors, but the Mors has a 1-step bonding process instead of 2.
Yeah. That's one way to get 13.
I would think this is a pretty clear way to get 13, and I wonder if there's a pilot here. But
I have no idea.
by the time you're laying it out for something like this, there's
Yeah.
maybe other realizations that can get it lower.
Yeah, there's a bit of 13s. First off, we have Haxton in 25th place at 590 gold and 13 latency. Yep, that seems to be the method for 13s.
Yep, just set up your animismus to immediately make that last bond, which means you have to have a lot of prep work done before cycle 10 when the rest of the output bonds.
Yeah. It also means, this one does calcification first though, and not just passing by a calcification glyph. Guess it's got the extra time to do so.
Why does arm 2 need to be a 6 arm? Why can't it be a regular arm with 1 more instruction?
Because it has to grab the extra iron.
Right, it's grabbing 2 separate
Like,
molecules at once.
Oh,
Here.
I see, yeah.
Yeah,
The second thing
two molecules.
That makes total sense. What that approach means also is that the very first triplex bond isn't formed until cycle 4, which is a cycle later than possible. But that's not
Yeah.
its down.
Since you're pulling from the second input. This, the first triplex bonds comes from the second input.
Yeah, my proof that I mentioned in Discord, like I have a 38-line proof about what is required for min latency includes on this cycle you need to have done these things, which means you need to have placed these glyphs because the geometry of the previous glyphs you must have placed can't achieve it.
Yeah. Alrighty, next up in 21st place, we have a 580 gold, 10 gold cheaper, username Void. How to waste chain. Username Void, you have tall solutions. So, yeah, same method. And now it's building the waste chain. Does it with a waste chain? Okay, it does. Alright.
I'm glad it's conditional.
Managing waste is part of the puzzle.
Yeah, it's just frustrating because if this puzzle did put the you-win screen up after 1 input,
Yeah.
then we would be able to do a lot less finagling to get it to keep moving.
If that was possible, I would have done it, but you can't just set the product count to 1. The game doesn't allow
whatever
that.
number you put in that field is multiplied by 6, which is how you get like 12s, 18s, 24s, but never 1.
Yeah, this isn't Space Chem. Space Chem you can do that. Space Chem you can even set the product count to 0.
Right, so it's just a specific disposal glyph.
Alrighty, next up we have also at 13 latency at 5. We have just 10 gold shaves, one after another. 570
cost
gold.
optimization with latency is going to be a really slippery. Like people will be lower placement by like 5 places because of a 10 gold save.
23rd place, Ontridge K. New solution 5. Okay, so this is different.
It's calcifying both of the first input.
And then duplicating. That's convoluted.
Spicy.
It's convoluted but possible.
Yeah.
And it does have the same limiting piece of the Moors has to. Oh wait, no. But that Moors could have been grabbed a cycle earlier, couldn't it?
Traplex limiting.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Is it limiting? No, I don't know if this can be a 12 or not.
I don't think it can be a 12 because of how late it starts doing triplex spawns.
Yeah, but like, if...
You would have to change something more fundamental to turn this into a 12 because the triplex spawns don't start until cycle 5.
Like, if you grabbed Moors here and moved it to the and bonded the Moors and did a triplex spawn on the fire immediately on this cycle and then outputted, that would be a 12. Yeah, 12 is possible.
It can't grab the Moors yet though because it has to use a second animism skill.
Can't it grab Moors?
Oh
no, it has to grab Moors now. Okay, never mind. So this is still Moors limited and not triplex limited.
It's Moors limited because it's using only one animismus glyph. If you had a second animismus glyph, then you could fire it more often than every third cycle. I think there's salt ready that is just not being used. Maybe not though, because it has to have one salt duplicate. This is just a complicated algorithm.
Yeah, complicated is a good description for latency on this puzzle. Especially once we go down. Next up we have RPO in would-be 23rd place with 555 gold. Bad omens. Oh, this does the same thing. But it bonds, it has a two-step Morse bonding process instead.
Oh, so it's able to use two animismus glyphs, but it is still paying a separate price.
This one is 13 because of the two-step Morse bonding process.
So it's using duplication, which is allowing it to still have a... I mean, if you're already going to be duplicating a salt input into a fire and calcifying a fire into a salt, I do worry what is saved versus not doing that.
No idea.
Just positioning, I guess.
Yeah, probably. Sometimes, like, theory doesn't quite work out because of geometry.
Yeah, theory is one thing, layouts are an entirely separate. So this makes sense as a concession you might have to make, which costs more but is still possible.
Yeah. And next up in 22nd place, we have at 99 instructions for the new Genius 42.
Hey, improvement.
Alright, this one's the... Wait, no, It's using the extra salt for Moors instead and has a two-step bonding process.
How does this manage to be a 13? I'm looking at this and it's doing the things needed for a 12, I think. But it's just slow with it. Is there a cycle when a triplex bond isn't formed? Nope, it just doesn't start forming triplex until pretty late.
Yeah.
What's the first cycle where a triplex bond is formed? That looks like 5, so that would force you to 13. It's too slow.
Yeah, it's 5.
You can get 4 if you duplicate, which is how the others are getting away with it. You can get 4 if you do this as well, but they just have the fire is not in place and fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
The input has to be moved twice before it starts triplex bonding instead of once.
Yeah. Alrighty, next up we have in 21st place at 460 gold, Cavalarian.
400 seems really cheap, or 60 even.
Okay, yeah, this is just the method that we've seen before.
Yeah, the instant bonded Moors.
Mm-hmm. Instant bonded Moors and the fired assault. But done way cheaper than the other ones that did this.
I also like that Arm 2 is able to get Vitae out of the way so that there can be only one arm handling that task.
Mm-hmm. That's a convenient arrangement for Animus with Glyph, having a 3-arm like that.
Yeah, but it's only using one Animismus Glyph, so it's going to be able to. It's not going to be able to hit any lower latency than this.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda, maybe.
Yeah. But speaking of lower latency, we have in 20th place, at 12 latency and 695 gold, Cuckoo 52.
12 is 20th. All right.
Reject disposal. Okay, it's actually... So there are several methods of getting 12, it seems, that I've seen. So, this one, it's different from... How's this different from the 13 solves that we've seen?
It's passing one of its salts from the second grabbed fire input into Animismus. That is a requirement for 12, as far as I can tell. Might not
it's
be,
doing...
but
It's doing
didn't map out
triplex on
12.
cycle 3. The triplex starts on cycle 3.
Yeah. It gives you a little bit of time to regrab, but you still have more that you need to get into position.
Yeah. And it stops doing triplexes for some of the cycles. Yeah.
When we were looking at 13s, we were thinking, so why aren't these 12s? And now,
We're looking
when we're
at
looking
12s.
at 12s, we're thinking, why aren't these 11s? Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. A lot of people have sent me proofs that as to why white 12 is min.
I sent a different proof.
Yeah.
The requirements of 11 are absurd, so it's believable that you could miss the possibility, but they are possible.
Yeah.
I could never refute it existed, but I'm like, man, if it does, it must be absolute wild.
It's actually
I'll post
easier
my
than
line
it.
proof. Line 1 of it is 11 is possible, proved by example. And then
Panic
the rest
tried.
of it is trying to map out solution space.
So Panic tried to get an 11, and didn't succeed. And like walk me through his process of getting trying for it. But yeah. Moving on, we have in 19th place at 680 gold, Hello Jasper. So in the meantime, we still have 12 latency. So this is using a solve for duplication first, and then starting triplexes on cycle 3. Except that sacrifices the Morse, so this is probably Morse limited. Using one of the salts for duplicating, yeah, it limits the Moors. Oh, but it pulls another one, another fire, just for Moors from... It sends a fire into 2 fires into calcification as well. And it's doing the two-step bonding process for the Mars. Makes it 12. And in 18th place, we have at 660 gold, not great. Okay, triptychs on cycle 4. That means it has to do one every cycle from now on, yeah? No, it doesn't have to. Huh, this
Yeah,
was...
triplets on cycle 4 is a requirement for 11 but not 12.
This one's different. This is n equals 3 on the salt input.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where the other salt comes from.
There's one from the fire. Of the first input, actually.
True, yeah.
And the other one comes from the... And then the rest of the 3 fires go into the triplex.
This is still n equals 4 on salt. You grab that salt.
Alright, there's a last one. The last salt is grabbed as well.
Yeah, there's so many steps on this that when they are done and where they are done make the solution space at 12 huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I'm looking at 12, I'm kind of overwhelmed.
Alrighty, next up we have in 17th place at 650 gold, Buttermilk Donut, with yet another 10 gold save. Fast and messy. Yep, it looks pretty messy. So... uses duplication. So it gets the first triplex in at cycle 3. And there is 1, 2, 3... Only... This is n equals... This is n equals 3 on salt.
You're right.
So it takes...
It does move an input around, and I'm trying to figure out why that happens. It's dodging a swing. I like it.
Oh. Okay, so there's
Yeah, it's a length 4 swing that needs to dodge.
2 salts that come from the fire that go straight into animismus. 2? Or is it 3? No, 3. 3 salts that come from the...
Yeah, but one of them is the salt in the output.
Yeah.
But all of the bonding between the salt and the 2 Moors happens on one cycle, and the bonds to the rest of the output comes on the other. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love latency sols and how they just throw everything off the board as quick as possible.
Yeah.
But
Just... Cling, 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 pong. Alright, next up we have at 590 gold, PWE in 16th place. I cannot shortcuts either. There's reference to their I cannot pipelines.
Pretty cheap.
Yeah, it gets cheap. So... triplex bonds on cycle 3 via duplication.
Yeah, with duplication. And then you have the entire structure ready to just keep using a triplex bonder over and over.
Uh-huh.
Though you do have to make sure that you get the projection to happen in the middle there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks quite cheap. It uses the second fire input completely for animismus, which allows it to not
Oh,
have to move things very far.
VK waste. Okay.
Yeah, it has a 6 arm for the Vitae.
Because that, oh yeah, because you can just have no access points to Vitae if you don't need to dispose. If a Vitae is not
Yeah,
required
the
for the
Vitae with
output.
no access was one of the biggest middle fingers from the puzzle design here.
Yeah.
You don't need to access a Vitae to complete the puzzle, but then you need to access it
To
to
complete the metric. Yeah. But you need to get it out of the way.
I love that the input passes over, or the output passes over the soul input.
Oh. Wee. Yeah. When it comes to latency, positioning is very important. So having space to pass through is very convenient. Alrighty, next up we have in 15th place at 550 gold, a Madmaster.
It would not have mattered, Haxton. Haxton found a 10G saving on the previous one.
Yeah. So, traffic's on cycle 4.
Yeah. It doesn't require duplication, which is nice.
Oh yeah, so it doesn't have to, yeah. Guess that makes this cheaper.
It has 3 triplex spawners and 1 projection glyph, which it zigzags all the inputs into very quickly.
Uh-huh. Because you can load the projection glyph pretty quickly. Once per cycle, yeah. While the output
And
is
the
pivoting
things are
above it.
arranged in a way where you can pivot the goal, so it does still work on triplex while the other stuff is firing.
Mm-hmm. These solves are a lot more quieter than the throughput solves.
Yeah, because they only have to do their work once
It feels almost too
for
quiet
a long amount of time.
compared to the loud noises we've been getting from the first half of the stream. Alright, next up in 14th place, we have at 540 gold, which is more 10 gold saves, Fiesta. I think 12 is min, but some wizard will find 11 probably.
What a good title.
You're a wizard, Vicky.
I'm a wizard.
You're a what?
You're a wizard, Harry. Hey, you're a Harry wizard.
Hey. Love that joke.
Okay, about the actual solve. Triplex on
so
cycle 5.
It's not making triplex until 5, and then it's making it as often as it can.
Uh-huh.
On only 3 triplex bonders, which is pretty neat.
Uh-huh. And how many salts come from come from the fire? Only one of them.
Yeah, that's entirely possible for 12. So one of the things that makes this puzzle look kind of nice is that you can embed the fire input in the output as fire, gold, fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so your first triplex bonded fire will just sit in the middle of 2 fires that already are there, and then you can spin it around in a circle and get all the triplexes made.
That's actually something I changed last minute when I started calculating latency.
Gotcha. But yeah, that specific nice embedding of input and output already has invalidated a chance at 11.
Uh-huh.
Frustratingly, because that makes so much more symmetry and nice glyph access.
Yeah. There was a version of this puzzle where, like, instead of being bonded to the fire, it was bonded to the Moors instead.
I see.
Yeah. And then, like, I changed it for latency purposes.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, that would be ugly for latency. I don't know if it would make it easier or harder for the min, but it's uglier.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Next up, we have in 13th place, at 535 gold. We're at 5 gold saves now. Pioneer. Triangle Caesar. Thanks, Pioneer. I love it.
I love the equilibriums.
Well, you don't need, area doesn't count, so... Equilibrium away. Alright, triplex on Cycle 4.
Using duplication or unbonding? Just unbonding. Easy.
Unbonding.
Okay.
And only one salt goes into Animismus. Does it go into Animismus? Or does it go into the output? It goes into Animismus. Okay.
Yeah, if you filled the output using, or if you move from the salt input to Animismus, the next salt still has plenty of time to take the output because Animismus is 3 cycles and the input is 2.
Mm-hmm.
I butchered the statement, but I think the meaning came through.
Alright, next up in 12th place, we've definitely been going through the latency solves faster. At 515 gold, Bambi. 12th latency, 12th place. We can zoom back in. Okay, it's taking fire from the second input. Actually, it's the extra fire is taken from the first input.
That seems like a good idea.
2-step bonding process Morris. And the calcified fire goes into Animismus. Yeah, we've seen this. Somewhat. Oh, I like how the... I like how the iron hematite input is open like a lid so that I can pass to the disposal.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about how many of these solutions added some amount of cost so that they could reset. Which is like the unfortunate thing when 5 gold matters. The money you use to reset.
Mm-hmm. Right, next up we have in 11th place at 490 gold, Goodbye Galaxy.
Yeah, there's a wait seriously from Goodbye Galaxy in chat earlier at the hint of 11. It's a very cheap 12.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it gets cheaper.
I figured because Marconda and Mr. Puzzle are both still to come, and I'm, for both of them, pretty confident that it doesn't have 11.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading the room wrong.
Well, you're right anyway.
If you thought 10 was close to possible, I'm very surprised. But...
I think I ruled out 10, but like... Also, I don't remember what my 10's digit was for the gold. Don't know how close this is.
So this one has 2 triplex bonders, but it does have a multi-bonder, so that it's able to use the Moore's late.
Mm-hmm.
It has a duplication glyph as well, so
yeah.
I think...
This one's duplicated fire.
It also is only using 1 projector, which is a good saving, because projectors, despite being small glyphs, are very expensive.
Yeah.
Using only 1 of them is a good save.
Alright,
All the people who talked about proofs, we gotta share our proofs afterwards.
yeah. I've received long proofs of trying to prove 12, trying to prove 11, trying to
Yeah, mine was
disprove
trying to prove
11.
how many glyphs you need at 11. It's 250 gold of glyph minimum.
Alright, next up we have, in 10th place, at 485 gold, Mr. Puzzle.
It was an 8.
Top 10 though.
Top 10. Oh yeah, so since we're in top 10, who's got predictions for top 3? Who's got predictions for who gets 11?
So I'm already out as getting 11, but I have no idea if my cost is actually top 3 worthy.
Oh, wait, right. I forgot Mr. Puzzle does this. Gotta save those instructions,
It
tertiaries.
saves instructions because it totally matters.
It only makes the output every 6th tape loop. I love it.
And 0G to loop. I had all the tech I needed.
Nice.
True, yeah, there's a piston to reach one of the Vitae, and the other Animismus has a arm on it.
Right, but I had to use the piston for what it does. I couldn't get rid of it.
And this one looks like a fire into Animismus with second input triplex.
2 projection glyphs too.
Mm-hmm. 2 projection
It used
glyphs
to be.
is sometimes just convenient because of triplex.
It used to be 3 glyphs. But it's cheap. One's even cheaper.
The partial product needs to get somewhere, so
Yeah, and the glyph and a projector and an arm are the same cost.
the partial product is like I have somewhere to be.
My other atoms need me.
I must go.
Well, I really like the tertiary save on this one at least, and I think this is the 3rd solution to have 99 instructions.
Oh,
Axtons
99.
did, and then a few people later, I think it might have been 42 Genius Scoring 2 did.
Goodbye Galaxy had 98.
Ah, funny.
What place does 11 start? We'll have to find out. Alright, next up we have in 9th place at 475 gold, Spec 98.
Wow. All the big names who couldn't see the 12 or couldn't see the 11. If Penta has a 12, that'll be a big break for me in the tournament standings.
So, second input fire and second input fire with calcification going into Morris.
I like the arm that holds the Quicksilver behind the input so that it can move through it faster.
Yeah.
There's only 2 triplex. This is a really efficient solution.
Mm-hmm. 2
In
triplex,
cost.
1 and only 1 projection glyph.
Yeah, using that swing through the input trick.
Oh wait, that is tight. Can you look at that? Project, project, project. Alright, next up we have in 8th place at 465 gold, 10 gold again, Murakanga.
There we go.
Latency,
Yeah.
min plus 1. Min plus 1.
Impressive showing from Morgana though. I don't know how cheap I expected 12 to go, but when I built one, it was just a proof of concept, and it was 60 or 600 gold. So 465 is cheap.
Yeah. This one also does the same thing with the with the projection and triplex, somewhat.
An arm that swings back through the input? Oh no, it swings back from the other side.
Yeah, this
Which allows it to be
is
a little earlier in the
very
process.
similar to Spec 98 saw. Like, look at it. It's almost the same thing.
Is that a bonder at the top, or is this...
No, that's
Is
a
it bonding a
disposal.
waste chain here?
No, it's disposal.
Oh, okay, it's off the top of the screen, so I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
That at least makes sense because it's free.
And in 7th place, we have, at 445 gold, Pentapig.
That was the concern. All right. Wow. Well, that's cheap, but it's not 11.
It's cheap, but it's not 11. Okay, so everybody's using the same projection and triplex technique.
Although Pentapig has a third arm on the Quicksilver. I wonder if it has any other purpose.
Huh.
I think it's only because Pentapig's projection is so early in his process that he can't use what Spectrum R did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a fire atom that swings through the consumption X.
These solve so
that's
fast.
true, yeah. You can't let a thing
oh,
sit
it's
on the
16.
grid. It has to be dropped one after another. I also wonder if there's any gold added here to just loot, because Arm 9 doesn't look like it needs to have a track, except for the existence of Vitae.
I wonder if, like, actually sending the fire, the calcified fire into Animismus is necessary for 12?
I think there were a few degrees of freedom in my proof about which salts or fires you actually assign to Animismus as long as they all happen by this cycle.
Like,
But the really funky thing about 11 is that you are required to put the third fire input into the output in a way that salts one of the fires. And retains the metal. So the metal comes from the third fire input.
yeah. Alright, so next up, in 6th place, we have 435 gold. Rolomni.
It still goes lower at 12.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
This has everything pretty separate. All things considered. Oh. Oh, okay. It's just that everything after it is different. Like,
yeah, this is 581i. It's building every later output using a pipeline that doesn't touch the Vitae that it can't reach in the top Vitae glyph. There's a Vitae that you can't dispose of.
Yeah.
It's on the top It's on the top Animismus.
Mm-hmm.
So everything else has to finish the solution without using that Animismus glyph.
It saves on instructions a bit while being 60.
It's also doing exactly what my solution did in terms of the mishandling of one. Like, the first output is the only
also,
one.
Yeah, that means you don't need to actually touch that Vitae.
Exactly. So that's a gold savings. Rolomni did the gold savings required to be like total try hard on the cost secondary.
Oh, they also don't touch the iron.
Yeah, true. No ARM has access to that point.
So, triplex on cycle 4, project, 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 and out.
It's cool that a 12 can get you 6th. Does a 12 also get you 5th, or are there 511s? I'm shocked how cheap this keeps getting.
Well, in 5th place, we have, at 420 gold, Gecko.
Hey, Lamau.
Yeah, 420.
Nice.
Nice.
Hey now.
Latency, lower cost. This one is doing the projection and triplex differently. It only has 2 projection. It has 2 triplex glyphs.
There's also no multi-bonder. I just have a hard time at a glance figuring out what makes a solution cheaper other than what it says in the cost field.
Yeah, same. Doesn't help that they're all so close.
Yeah, I mean, if you showed this one after one that cost over 600, I'd be like, yeah, this is cheaper. But between the 435 before this and this one, it's just like, okay, there's no multi-bonder. The glyphs are less, but the arms probably might make up for that unless there's fewer arms too. Also, this one's looping at least, which is nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's using the extra bonders to... It's using the axis on the bonders to make a waste chain. No multi-bonder and only 2 triplex. Only 2 triplex, but you have an extra projection glyph, so it's probably the multi-bonder.
Yeah, triplex and projection are the same costs, but it just kind of matters what you're trying to do. Like, are you going to be moving it far enough to where you want the extra triplex or the extra projector?
And next up in 4th place, we have a drop in gold at 380 gold.
Seriously?
Whoa.
Velvacane.
Velvacane, that's a legendary, cheap 12.
How even though?
I'll keep
So-
praising them as they get cheaper.
So there's less track.
One projection,
less-
2 triplex.
Oh, 1 projection, yeah, 1 projection, 2 triplex. And less track, 1 less arm than the previous solution. No triplex, no triple bonders. Yeah. I see.
How do you get a 12 with your Quicksilver loaded using only a 6 arm? Like, that means your timing is built around that. Like, the very first thing has to be goldifying. Or, yeah. Not specifically
No,
gold, but...
On cycle 3.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, really slick. And that debonder on the... The debonding at the same time as all the other pieces bond to it is big.
And then it's doing conditionally. It's conditionally putting Iron Waste to the side by doing a stack.
Hey.
I know it's super cheap.
I'm really... This is a very cool solution. I'm glad it made it into the top 4.
And from now on, we move into 3rd place at 11 latency.
3 people. Very
3
cool.
people.
Who are the 3?
Starting with
Top
710 gold, Ebenov.
Oh.
Congrats, Abhinav.
So, Biggie, you want to explain how to do 11 latency? Because all 3 use the same method.
And
Yeah,
please tap
there's only
through.
one method. It requires the 3rd metal input provide the metal in the output, the salt in the output, and the fire, which also requires that you do all 3 triplex between 2 fires before you can bond that into the output.
Oh.
So,
So you have to do a pair of triplex 3 times, and then another pair of triplex 3 times, in that order.
fire by cycle 3 by debonding and rebonding with the same input, so that salt isn't sacrificed. Which,
Arms 2 and 3 are a clone of the first 2 arms to act in my solution. This might be like there's one solution that's 11 and we found very similar versions.
yeah, so by just taking the fire directly from the first input and rebonding it, you get to start on cycle 3 without taking any extra salt.
But you do need to debond that iron later on.
Yeah.
There are a few options as to when, but yeah.
And so you get to start triplex the fastest possible, while animismus happens also the fastest possible.
And yeah, the geometry to be able to make the 3 triplex bonds and then stick the next output onto it, or the next input onto it like that, in only 2 triplex bonding glyphs is exactly this thing with...
Oh yeah, there still needs to be calcification of the fire into the animismus to keep up on latency, and yeah, that 3rd iron hematite input is very important. That's that salt right there. so that you don't need to pull an extra salt for that one in particular.
Ebanov, you and I should compare solutions like part for part. They are very similar.
There's also one more.
There's another person who has very similar as well, of course.
Yeah.
I've proved that you need 2 animismus, 2 multibonders, a bonder that is not a multibonder, 3 triplex, 4 is possibly the requirement, but I can only prove 3, and 3 projectors.
And you only get 3 chances to project. So it being iron is very important. It being iron and not lead is very important.
Yeah, you need to project at the same time as you connect that third input to the rest of the output, and you need to project on the next 2 cycles because the only other cycle you have has to be bond the Moors, which prevents you from having anything adjacent to gold. 11 is tight.
Very tight.
But I love this. It's so similar to myself, so I recognize it immediately despite not having made it. Like, even the handoff from which rotations are being done by which arms. Like, it's a spin around the input of fire, and then it starts zigzagging when Moore's bond to it.
Alright, and the other person who got 11, that's not Biggie. In second place, Nuashar at 645 gold.
Oh, I've improved through that number. I started at 665 and ended at 630. So, Nuashar, I've passed you.
Okay, this one looks different though.
Very compact.
Yeah, this one's probably optimized for area.
Weird. It doesn't have 2 multibonders. I'm wrong. I'm just wrong in some way. Wow, this violates my proof. Congrats, Nuchar. You've probably found a method that's better than the one I found, but I optimized mine too hard.
It does do lots of similar things though. Like for example, the final bond.
The fire has the same assignment because that much is still solid as a proof.
The final bond is also the same.
Yeah. Complete with the bonder that is not a multi-bonder to connect fire to gold.
Mm-hmm.
Right, this is so compact though, it's really neat.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I've won.
Yep, and that leaves Biggie Mac for first place at 630 gold. So your 5 gold shave doesn't matter.
The 5 gold shave didn't matter, but the start was 665, and I cut down from there, so...
Yeah.
I'm taking every improvement I made as worth it.
Crimes against alchemy for the sake of 5 gold.
Yeah, so I have a vitae that I can't reach, and so I conditionally build the other outputs differently than the first. So let's start with arms 1 and 2 that are just Ebanov's solved flipped upside down. It's the exact same L-shaped track that it connects to with the flip from the other track. I do output through the salt input. I have to move it through to get out of the way.
Yeah.
But yeah. The second time, the Moors isn't there because that animismus flip wasn't used, so I have to conditionally build it.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you want to watch the process, you probably start from 1 because everything else is going to be these...
If you want to watch the process... I'm going to watch this one instead.
Yeah, I have to make both Moors from the lower animismus glyph on products 2 through 6.
This one's the one with extra 5 gold.
Yeah, this one loops properly. I also kind of credited Steven with the output position being behind one of the inputs.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one loops. The first thing it does is exactly the same as the first thing Evanov's does, which is put together a triple bonded fire out of the first fire input.
I guess there's just not many ways to do that.
Yeah. I looked at a few other ways that used 1 fewer arm, but they made a V shape and that didn't work because of geometry.
Mm-hmm.
But also, yeah, the second fire input is literally only used to fill animismus, and the other 2 parts of it are waste.
Yeah.
That's because the third fire input has assignments on the output directly.
And yeah, that's all the solves for week 6. So congratulations to Biggie Mac, Nuachar, and Evanov for getting 11 latency and getting top 3. And congratulations to Velvicane, Gecko, Relomni, Pentapig, Muraconda, Spec98, and Mr. Puzzle for getting top 10. Wizards.
Wizards. Yeah, I thought that 11 was possible before I had a full proof, and so I tried in a few ways.
Uh-huh.
I got this solve, and then I started proving what the requirements for 11 were and realized it's everything that I've done, and there's no other way.
Yeah, so
Nuchar was...
Panic tried to make an 11. I was like, Fist, what the hell have you done? And like, then he saw your solve and was like, wow, okay, yeah, this makes 11 much easier, but it's super tight.
I remember when I first said I have an 11, and you asked, can I see it? And I responded, no. That was because I hadn't made it into a solution yet. I
Yeah,
had to
because
figure out how to get it into a product.
and I'll
But
put it
that
at
just
11,
sounds
but
like
Vicky wanted to make sure that he could deal with the waste without increasing cost.
it's
So
like
there
a
was no
robot
solve
analyst.
yet.
Can I see it? No.
I also found that funny.
I'll post my long proof of what is required for 11, then I'll figure out how Nuchar's solution violates it.
Uh-huh.
Ebanov's solve is basically the exact same as this with a few missed cost optimizations. Catspring, you're so cool. An 11 latency fulmination solution? Localized entirely in your transmutation engine? Can I see it? No. When the hams are steamed.
When the gold is fulminating. Alright, so that leaves puzzle reveal for...
With our showcase? I remember Aloe Jasper had a showcase to do.
Oh yeah, we do showcase after the puzzle reveal.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so week 8, we have radio receivers. Pure projection. And the metric is cycles and tracks plus instructions.
TI again. And the cycles. Oh, wow.
Cycles
Oh,
area.
wow.
Cycles area. Cycles area
Oh,
god.
wow.
Piston.
Mm-hmm. Alright, I need to remove this.
I like that this puzzle exists, but I don't know that I like this puzzle. Let's go.
So, yeah. That's the puzzle for week 8. Barely started on the ring ones. Yeah, so week 7 is potent painkillers, is rings and salt. There's just lots of it. All the salt. So since this was also released when this wasn't released on the stream, so I'll like go through it now as well. This you get 7 salt. You have to make 2 outputs: the metrics or area, and also sum. Right, sum. I originally wanted to do Cycles area for this as well, but like I made another Cycles puzzle, so didn't want too many Cycles. Despite what Biggie probably would have wanted. But yeah, that's next week's puzzle. But now we got our showcase solves.
Yeah.
There's only 3 of them.
Oh, I figured.
We'll be starting with Hello Jasper's solve, which is somebody missed week 2. Min area. Min area is forced waste. 12 of them. filling in the leaderboards early. So yeah, main area is a lot very similar to week 2. With the waste handling, except now you're handling BK instead of Mars.
This looks like it's gonna have a lot of Vitae to work with.
Yeah, 12 of them.
Yuck. Yuck, yuck. It's week 2 again. And it's looping, so it's yucky.
Wait, it's looping?
Week 2 flashbacks with all of these Moors on the board. Wait.
It's Vitae instead now. The mass Vitae reminds me more of Panacea to Poison.
Yeah. Oh, and they're starting to bond them together so you can reach those hard-to-reach areas.
Oh yeah, that's the last one. So yeah, that's the 12 Vitae on the board. Not even Shadow Cluster tried. Yeah, it's... I guess it seems like just enough space.
I like this. I love that it's just enough space. That's sort of happy accident.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it loops. Oh, that's what you mean by it loops.
Does it build a waste chain out of it?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Alrighty. And then we have Mr. Puzzle. Finally, true latency.
Zorflex gotta eat them tissues. I beat his 3 latency. Tab it.
Input looping and overlap?
1.
Yep.
1 latency.
I'm pretty proud of that because there's a Quicksilver underneath the salt in the output.
Oh. Also, it's got input duping.
How are you procking? How are you getting it
Yeah, how are
from
you triple procking?
iron to gold in one
Alright.
cycle?
Okay, there are 2 Quicksilver inputs. One of them you can see when you just watch the solution. There's a Quicksilver
Okay, I see that one.
on the top Moors.
Yeah.
So that Quicksilver double procs, and then the Moor shows up and is in the way until it outputs. And then, so you can repeat. The second Quicksilver is underneath the salt of the output, and the Quicksilver glyph happens first, or the projection glyph happens first. So the Quicksilver and the salt spawn at the same time. The Quicksilver is immediately processed using the projector. The salt prevents another Quicksilver from spawning. The salt bonds to the output. The thing outputs, and then Quicksilver and salt spawn at the same time again, and it keeps going.
That's amazing. This is one of the most cool overlap latency solves I have ever seen.
Overlap latency should be a thing now. Yeah, except this one uses input dupes, though, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah.
Which we haven't allowed on the leaderboards.
It also has a glyph of pseudo evisceration.
Alright, multiple disposal isn't allowed in latency in leaderboards anymore either.
There's so many hacks, but also
It's also cheaper than Velvicane solution, so I mean...
finally, true latency.
True latency, yeah.
I can eat fulminating gold.
Why would you, though? And also the third showcase solve is Biggie's solve, so we don't need to look at that one, we've already seen it.
Oh yeah, I was sending that one in this showcase just because I was afraid I wouldn't get to show it, but it was so much prettier.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that means we can get to putting in the scores.
I'll take this moment to quickly mention I plan on updating my computation mod to include the previous computation puzzles that have shown up in tournaments. I'm going to try and get that done over the weekend because next week is the computation puzzle reveal, right?
Yeah.
So soon.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened.
Computation is happening.
I want to get yeah, I'm going to try and get those that mod updated soon. So then there's more practice.
There you go. It's updated. Has it done so on stream? It's done so on stream. So, yeah. Pentapig is still ahead. Piggyback is about 3 points behind. It's pretty steep. Let me check the graph.
Oh wow, Pentapig lost
Oh, the graph
1.6
doesn't include week
points on
6 yet.
latency.
Okay. I need to add week 6 to the graph after the stream. Yeah, Pentapig is still up ahead. And Rolomni is third. Spec 90 is fourth. Mr. Puzzle's fifth. Username Boy dropped a bit.
Yeah, unfortunate with the latency solve being 13.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I need to extend this as well. And also make these. Oh, whoops. There we go. And yeah, that should be all for this stream. And we'll be streaming the results for week 7 next week. And alright, and about week 8, I forgot to release that on the website. Let me do that first. But about week 8, it's an extended week because I don't have time for stream. It's slightly extended because I don't have time to stream on that weekend. Plus, it's a more difficult puzzle.
Cycles is difficult, yeah. And TI is never easy.
Yeah, TI. It's mainly TI that's more difficult, I'd say. But, yeah, let me... Oh, wait, did I... Whoops, let me change this part of the metric. I changed that but forgot to update it. TI is TI cycles area this time.
Alright, I'm headed to dinner, so thanks for the stream.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty.
Good luck everyone solving the rest.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. And we'll see you next week.
See you next time.
Goodbye. See ya.